The session is called to order. In celebration of the Arts Month, the chairman of the Special Committee on Creative Industries, the Honorable Javier Miguel Lopez Benitez, has invited the renowned Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra to perform the Philippine National Anthem and Doxology for today's session. May I request everyone to rise. Everyone can be seated while the orchestra performs another number. Majority Leader,
Motion to suspend session.
is there any objection? Chair hears none. Session suspended. Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, considering that copies of Journal Number 27, dated Feb 10, 2026, were already distributed to the members, I move to dispense with the reading thereof and subsequently to approve the said journal.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The reading of the said journal is dispensed with, and Journal Number 27, dated February 10, 2026, is hereby approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the guests of the Honorable Bai Dimple P. Mastura. Her guests are from the Embassy of Malaysia, and they are the following. His Excellency Dato Abdul Malik Melvin Castellino, Miss Azlina Che Dir, Miss Noor Faraliza Putri Naim Yazid, Mr. Sharul Anwar Abdul Latif, Mr. Tan Fu Keng. Mr. Speaker.
To the distinguished guests of the Honorable Siti Shahara by Dimple Mastura from the Government Embassy of the Republic of Malaysia, led by His Excellency Datu Abdul Malik Melvin Castellano, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, apologies, I withdraw my previous motion. I move to call the roll of members.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives, Abalos, Abante, Asidre, Acosta, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Agyaw, Alano, Alba, Albano, Almario Chino Miguel, Almario Dennis, Almonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Angeles, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison Munir, Arbison Munir Jr., Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Ataide, Omentado, Ayon, Bagaw, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Bancoro, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Baskug, Bautista Claude, Bautista Johan Monich, Bautista Lim, Beltran, Benitez Alfredo, Benitez Javier Miguel, Bernos Ching, Bernos JB, Piron, Bocobo, Bolilia, Bondok, Briones, Bulut Begtang, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Kawagdan, Cari, Castro, Caiton, Celeste, Sendanya, Ceniza, Chan Jan Franz Norbert Joselito Almario, Chan Junard, Chua, Chuatay, Chungalao, Ko Pilar, Cojuangco Jaime Eduardo Mark, Cojuangco Mark, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Agatha, Cruz Ricardo, Cruzado, Cuwa, Dagook, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Lima, De Venecia, Defensor, De Gamo, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Di Macuja, Di Maguila, Di Maporo Imelda, Di Maporo City Amina, Diokno, Dionisio, Domingo, Domogan, Duterte Harold James, Duterte Omar Vincent, Duterte Paulo, D. Faustino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Elago, Emano, Enverga, Erice, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Jeffrey, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Presnedi, Puentebella, Galang, Galeyos, Garbin, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Karen Hope, Garcia Maria Angela, Guardiola, Garin, Gatchalian, Gato, Glepa, Go, Gomez, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Alaysa Micaela, Gonzales Christopher Sheen, Gonzales Roy, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulyas, Gutierrez, Hernandez Charis Ann, Hernandez Dennis, Hernandez Ferdinand, Hernandez Ramil, Hofer Hasim, Oribata, Ismula, Iway, Javier, Ko Antonio, Ko Elisa, Ko Wilton, Kong Hun, Ko. Labad-labad, Lacson, Lagbas, Lagdameo Jose Manuel, Lagdameo Monique Yasmin Maria, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Ledesma, Legacion, Legarda, Legazpi, Leviste, Libanan, Lopez, Loria, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Makasaet, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangudadatu, Manikiz, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Marquez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miraflores, Momo, Montes, Nava, Nazal, Misay, Nolasco, Uwaminal Henry, Uwaminal Sancho Fernando, Oducado, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Oreta, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Perez, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Po, Primisya Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Bryan, Revilla Ramonjolo, Ridon, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Maximo, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romualdez Andrew Julian, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yadamari, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sally, Salvacion, Salvador, Salvame, San Fernando, Santos Maria Alana Samantha, Santos Mark Anthony, Shimura, Singson Richelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Suwansing Bella Vanessa, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Suntay, Talyado, Tan Ayman, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Chay, Tan Watco, Tariela, Teodoro, Tereng, Teves, Tiangco, Tieng, Tinio, Tolentino, Tuan, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Ungab, Uy Di Carlo, Uy Roberto, Valeriano, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Veloso, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Villa, Villaferte Miguel Luis, Villaferte Vincenzo Renato Luigi, Villanueva, Villarica, Violago, Yamsuan, Yap Arthur, Yap Christopherson, Yap Eric, Yap John Gisnel, Yatko, Inares, U. Jazel Victoria, U. Joseph Kim.
Punishing the crime of machinations in government procurement by Representative De Lima.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 7839, dividing the Schools Division Office for the Province of Cebu into 3 school division offices, namely the Schools Division's Office Central Cebu, School Division Office North Cebu, and Schools Division Office South Cebu, by Representative Calderon.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 7840, reclassifying and converting parcels of timberlands in the entire province of Camarines Sur into alienable and disposable public lands, by Representative Ridon.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 7841, amending the GOCC Governance Act of 2011, by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 7842, establishing the Municipality of Sultan Kudarat Women and Children Protection Center in the province of Maguindanao del Norte by Representative Mastura.
To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 7843, repealing the Terrorism Financing Prevention and Suppression Act of 2012 by Representatives Tino, Elago, and Co.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 7844, repealing RA 12023, amending sections 105, 108, 109, 110, 113, 114, 115, 128, 236, and 288, and adding new sections 108A and 108B of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 by Representatives Elago, Co, and Tino.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 7845, abolishing the collection of travel tax by Representatives Elago, Co, and Tino.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 7846, providing a fuel subsidy for municipal fisheries by Representative Escudero.
To the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
House Bill 7847, mandating government officials and employees to execute and submit a written permission to examine, inquire, or look into all other deposits and investments, thereby waiving the bank secrecy law by Representative Escudero.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 7848, providing mandatory insurance coverage and other benefits for all line workers by Representative Escudero.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 7849, simplifying the documentary requirements for accessing government financial assistance by Representative Poe.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill 7850, institutionalizing jiu-jitsu training as a mandatory component of PNP training, strengthening non-lethal arrest and control capabilities, and promoting human rights based on professional policing by Representative D. Faustino Michael Carlos.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 7851, establishing the electronic health system and services in support of universal health care using information and communications technology by Representative De Los Santos.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 7852, promoting the adoption of electronic money as a medium of exchange for financial transactions of the government and all merchants by Representative De Los Santos.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 7853, granting cost of teaching and learning continuity allowance to public school teachers by Representative De Los Santos.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 7854, mandating the establishment and maintenance of a rainwater harvesting facility in all new institutional, commercial, and residential development projects in Metro Manila by Representative De Los Santos.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 7855, promoting the capabilities and number of special education teachers in public schools, especially in rural areas, by Representative De Los Santos.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 7856, for the condonation of unpaid interest, penalties, surcharges, and unremitted universal charges on the overdue obligations of the Masbate Electric Cooperative Inc. to the NEA and Napocor, by Representatives Co. Antonio, Co. Elisa, and Co. Wilton.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 7857, increasing the validity of authorization to solemnize marriage of priests, ministers, or rabbis from 3 to 5 years, by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 7858, criminalizing the creation, distribution, sale, publication, promotion, and possession of vulgar, provocative, sexually suggestive exploitation materials with visual depictions of child sexual abuse generated through artificial intelligence or any other computer-generated or technological means, by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 7859, promoting transparent governance and instituting anti-corruption mechanisms in the operation of banks and other financial institutions, by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 7860, mandating the formulation and institutionalization of a comprehensive infrastructure development master plan, establishing the Master Plan for Infrastructure and National Development Council, by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 7861, mandating government officials and employees to execute and submit a written permission to examine, inquire, or look into all their deposits and investments, thereby waiving the bank secrecy law, by Representative Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 7862, establishing a priority infrastructure plan for state universities and colleges, by Representative Yam Suwan.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 7863, institutionalizing active transport by establishing a safe pathways network of bicycle lanes, walkways, and slow streets, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Transportation and the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals,
House Bill 7864, strengthening the special program in creative arts for junior and senior high school, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 7865, establishing a financial grants program for emerging Filipino artists, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Special Committee on Creative Industries,
House Bill 7866, establishing a unified electronic medical records for all Filipinos, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 7867, prohibiting the detention of motor vehicle drivers who are involved in a traffic accident who provided sufficient proof of their defensive driving, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 7868, strengthening the National Book Development Board, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 7869, establishing a comprehensive, integrated, and sustainable reintegration program for OFWs, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 7870, strengthening local rabies control and prevention by mandating local governments to create local rabies prevention and control committees, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 7871, establishing the Philippine Blood Center, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 7872, mandating the establishment of fisher-folk resettlement areas by the Department of Agriculture, Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, DENR, and LGUs, by Representative Yamsuan.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 7873, providing for the exemption of refined petroleum importers from the bond requirement under Section 160 of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, by Representative Poe.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill number 7874, rationalizing the withholding tax rate on refined petroleum products, by Representative Poe.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 7875, establishing the framework for the creation, administration, and regulation of global education cities, recognizing their international character and providing incentives to attract world-class foreign higher education institutions, thereby promoting educational tourism and national competitiveness, by Representatives Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdez Andrew Julian, and Asidre.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 7876, converting the capital town of provinces with less than 50% dependency in national tax allotment into a component city, by Representative San Fernando.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 7877, expanding the purposes and applications of the Special Education Fund to support basic education delivery, administrative and non-teaching personnel, facilities, equipment, and ALS, by Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 7878, instituting a national plan of action for the care, support, and inclusion of persons with autism spectrum disorder, by Representative Kong Hoon.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 7879, amending Section 47F of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001 to require an act of Congress prior to any privatization or transfer of the Agus and Polangi hydroelectric power complexes, by Representative Rehencia.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 7880, simplifying the documentary requirements for accessing government financial aid or assistance, by Representative Almario Chino Miguel.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 7881, establishing a national budget blockchain system to enhance the transparency, accountability, and public participation in the Philippine budget process, by Representatives Duterte Umar Vincent and Duterte Paulo.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 7882, establishing a direct point-of-sale VAT refund system for tourists, by Representatives Duterte Umar Vincent and Duterte Paulo.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 7883, declaring March 27 of every year a special non-working holiday in the city of Las Piñas to be known as Las Piñas City Charter Day, by Representative Santos Mark Anthony.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 7884, instituting the National Autism Care Plan for the support of persons with autism, by Representative Legazpi.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 7885, amending Sections 20, 21, 83, and 84 of the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, by Representative Zamora Isabel Maria.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 7886, to further enhance the implementation of the Lifeline Rate, by Representatives De Gooc and De Jesus.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 7887, protecting the Filipino youth and students from the ill effects of modern technology by regulating the use of electronic gadgets, by Representative Owaminal Henry.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 7888, simplifying the documentary requirements for accessing government financial assistance, by Representatives Tulfo Jocelyn and Tulfo Ralph Wendell.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill 7889, streamlining all plans, programs, activities, and projects to rehabilitate, protect, sustainably manage, and develop the Manila Bay region, creating the Manila Bay Authority, by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 7890, penalizing online fraud, deceptive digital practices, and malicious internet activities, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
House Bill 7891, providing PhilHealth coverage to barangay frontline health and social service workers, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 7892, enhancing transparency in government hiring through the mandatory online posting of vacant positions in all government agencies and LGUs, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 7893, providing free PSA birth certificates for student athletes participating in government-recognized sports events, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Bill 7894, institutionalizing the government internship program, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 7895, protecting children from harmful and inappropriate online content and promoting safe digital practices, to be known as the Screen Act, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children and the Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
House Bill 7896, excluding overtime pay from taxable income and amending the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 7897, establishing comprehensive safeguards for women against abuse, discrimination, and exploitation in sports, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development and the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 7898, declaring December 29th of every year as a special non-working holiday in the municipality of Leon, province of Iloilo, by Representative Goriseta.
To the Committee on Local Government.
Resolutions. House Resolution 782, expressing the profound sympathy and sincere condolences of the House of Representatives on the death of the Honorable Jose Claveria de Venecia Jr., former Speaker of the House of Representatives, honoring his extraordinary legacy of statesmanship, peace-building, and democratic leadership, and posthumously conferring upon him the Congressional Medal of Distinction in Public Service, by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 783, congratulating and commending the Philippine delegation for their historic and triumphant performance at the 13th Asian Para Games held in Thailand, by Representative Hernandez Charisse Ann.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 784, congratulating and commending Zachary Keith Keel Realubit for winning the Mr. Teen International 2026 title held in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, by Representative Hernandez Charisse Ann.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 785, congratulating and commending Filipino fashion designer Marjorie Resuelo Kobayashi for her outstanding achievements in promoting sustainable fashion and cultural diplomacy in the global stage, by Representative Hernandez Charisse Ann.
To the Special Committee on Creative Industries.
House Resolution 786, directing the House Committee on Justice, jointly with the Committee on Human Rights, to conduct an inquiry into the implementation of the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, by Representative De Lima.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 787, directing the Committee on Justice, jointly with the Committees on Human Rights and Banks and Financial Intermediaries, to conduct an inquiry on the implementation of the Terrorism Financing Prevention and Suppression Act of 2012, in light of serious allegations of abuse and misuse of the law that are in violation of the rights of free speech and association under the Constitution, by Representative De Lima.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 788, directing the appropriate committee of the House to conduct an inquiry into the recent discovery and raid of large-scale illegal cigarette factories in Barangays Panipuan and San Jose Malino in the Municipality of Mexico, and Barangay Panipuan in the City of San Fernando, Province of Pampanga, by Representative Gonzales Eliza Micaela.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 789, expressing the profound sympathy and sincere condolences of the House on the passing of Maria Cristina Vanchi Bonghanoy Labalan, and honoring her life, legacy, and enduring contributions to Philippine arts and culture, by Representative Olivares.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 790, congratulating and commending Filipina tennis star Alex Ayala for earning a main draw spot in the WTA 1000 Dubai Duty-Free International Tennis Championships, and for breaking into the top 40 of the Women's Tennis Association rankings, by Representative Del Mar.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 791, congratulating young Filipino students for winning top honors in international math and science Olympiads in the United States, by Representative Del Mar.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Resolution 792, urging the Committee on Human Rights to immediately conduct an investigation on the escalating attacks on humanitarian and development non-governmental organizations and other human rights defenders which restrict civic spaces and erode economic, social, and cultural rights of the communities they serve, by Representatives Elago, Co, and Tino.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 793, congratulating and commending Cindy Lovendino Asusano for winning the gold medal in the women's shot put F54 at the 2025 ASEAN Para Games and for bringing honor and prestige to the Philippines, by Representative Escudero.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 794, directing the appropriate committee of the House to conduct an inquiry into the increasing internet use among preteens with particular focus on online gaming, in-game purchases, and other digital consumption activities, by Representative Oducado.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 795, directing the appropriate committees of the House to conduct an inquiry into the systemic issues in the delivery of healthcare services in government and non-government hospitals, by Representative Ordanes.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 796, directing the appropriate committees to conduct a comprehensive inquiry into the exercise of discretion by the PNP in the apprehension, custodial detention, and institution or filing of criminal charges arising from vehicular accidents, by Representative Amante.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 797, urging the House Committee on Transportation to conduct an investigation regarding the fatal car accident in Paseo Saturnino, Barangay Banilad, Cebu City, with the end in view of determining the gaps in the implementation of the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013, by Representative EY.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 798, honoring the brave soldier of the Philippine Army, Corporal Reynold Gardose, who heroically gave his life in the line of duty during the encounter with alleged armed rebels in Sitio Cangabi, Barangay Santo Niño, Tanjay City on February 15, 2026, and expressing heartfelt condolences to his family, by Representative EY.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Resolution 799, congratulating and commending the Philippine women's national football team for winning the gold medal at the 2025 Southeast Asian Games in Thailand, the first ever SEA Games gold title in the history of Philippine women's football, by Representative Erice.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message from the Senate, message dated February 18, 2026, informing the House of Representatives that on even date, the Senate passed the following Senate bills in which it requests the concurrence of the House. Senate Bill 155, simplifying the documentary requirements for accessing government financial assistance.
To the Committee on Social Services.
Senate Bill 1624, creating a Congressional Commission on Agriculture, Fisheries, and Food Security to review, assess, and evaluate the state of Philippine agriculture and recommend innovative and targeted policy reforms in agriculture, appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food and the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources.
Senate Bill 1629, providing for multi-faith prayer and quiet rooms in public offices and public-facing establishments.
To the Committee on Human Rights.
Communication, letters dated February 9 and 11, 2026 of the BSP Bank Officer 6, Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, transmitting to the House of Representatives duly certified copies of certain BSP issuances.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Committee Report 121, submitted by the Committee on Foreign Affairs on House Resolution 800.
To the Committee on Rules.
Additional reference of business, verified complaints for impeachment, verified complaint for impeachment against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, filed by Francisca Franz Castro, Arlene Rosas, Liza Mazza et al., endorsed by Rep. Antonio L. Tino of ACT Teachers Party List, Rep. Sara I. Alago of Gabriela Women's Party List, and Rep. Renee Louise M. Co. of Kabataan Party List on 2 February 2026. Verified complaint for impeachment against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, filed by Francis Joseph Aquino D., Sylvia Estrada Claudio, Teresita Quintos Deles et al., endorsed by Rep. Percival Sandanya of Akbayan Party List, and Rep. Laila M. De Lima of Mamamayang Liberal ML Party List on 2 February 2026. Verified complaint for impeachment against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, filed by Reverend Father Joel Sabalia, Reverend Father Joselito S. Sarabia, Reverend Father Edelberto J. Baculi et al., endorsed by Rep. Laila M. De Lima of Mamamayang Liberal ML Party List on 9 February 2026. Verified complaint for impeachment against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, filed by Attorney Nathaniel G. Cabrera and endorsed by Rep. Bienvenido M. Abante Jr. and Rep. Paulo P. Ortega V on 18 February 2026, 6:34 p.m.
To the Committee on Justice. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we would like to acknowledge my guests from the province of Zamboanga del Norte, especially the 1st District, namely 1st District Board Member Jimboy Patrick Chan, Ulangco Municipal Mayor Ying Uy, Ulangco Municipal Councilor Jose Marion Ripaha, Ulangco Municipal Councilor Attorney Ivo Mandantes, Ulangco Municipal Mayor Cindy Gabukan, Dapitan City Councilor Alexandra Pajaro Meili, Dipolog City SK Federation Iris May Cuenca, Mutia Municipal Councilor Rad Adasa, Mutia Municipal Councilor Erneson Verraggio, Mutia Municipal Councilor John Mark Flores, Shukun Municipal Councilor Farah Pawaki, Shukun Municipal Councilor Liz Elaine Lucas, Shayan Municipal Councilor Dave Labad-Labad, Tampilisan Municipal Councilor Roswiller Resentes. That's all, Mr. Speaker.
To all the distinguished guests of the Honorable Roberto Pinpin T. Uy Jr., welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of the Honorable Eric L. Olivares from the 1st District, the City of Parañaque. They are the following. They are the City Councilors: Honorable Raquel Gabriel, Honorable Pablo Paulo Olivares, Honorable Alan Ford Tan, Honorable Daniel Eric Toki Baez, Honorable Brillante Bok Insyong, Honorable Karina Gabriel, Honorable Yoj Marquez, Honorable Shannon Olivares. And then we also have the barangay chairpersons from the 1st District, from the City of Parañaque. We also have representatives from the DSWD National Office. And we also have a college administrator. He's there right now, Dr. Alejandro D. Magnaye. And we have guests from the School Division of Parañaque. Mr. Speaker.
To the distinguished guests of Honorable Eric Olivares from the 1st District of Parañaque, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of the Honorable Edwin L. Cruzado from the 1st District of Cotabato. And they are the following: students of the School of Diplomacy and Governance of the De La Salle College of St. Benilde, their Professor Maricel Fernandez Carag, and Attorney Earl Gen Padayao. Mr. Speaker.
To the distinguished guests of the Honorable Edwin Cruzado from the 1st District of Cotabato, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of the Honorable Javier Miguel L. Benitez. They are the following: Honorable Victor Gerardo Rojas, Mayor of the Municipality of Murcia; Honorable Maria Rowena Guadalupe Lizares, Mayor of the City of Talisay; Honorable Judith Gallego, Mayor of the City of Silay; Honorable Matthew Malacon, Mayor of the Municipality of E.B. Magalona; Honorable Abelardo Bantug III, Mayor of the City of Victorias. Mr. Speaker.
To the distinguished guests of the various local chief executives from the district of the Honorable Javi Benitez, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we acknowledge the guest of Congressman Timothy Joseph Tim E. Cayton from the Lone District of Nueva Vizcaya. They are members of the Nueva Vizcaya OFW Association. And their names are Janet Baile, Julia Duntongan, Jovelyn Belingon, Rosella Bolhayon, Clarissa Tawana, Teresita Dacanay, Jimmy Calata, Nora Briggs, Josefina Indong, Remly Tesoro, Bella Bartolome, Mary Lou Sinense, Corazon Balanban, Isabella Abon, Sabita, and Sabina Quezon.
To the distinguished guests of the Honorable Timothy Joseph Tim E. Cayton of the Lone District of Nueva Vizcaya, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of Representative Jonathan Keith T. Flores from the 2nd District of Bukidnon, Representative Arlene P. Ayon from the Suerte Party List, and Representative Larnie Lavin Roque of the 4th District of Bukidnon. They are members of the National Movement of Young Legislators from the province of Bukidnon, and they are Councilor Neil Joshua Luardo, Councilor Nico Aldeguer, Councilor Richie Rabago, Councilor Hetaime Okinlay Gumban, Councilor Ayagil Kila Delarmente Quines, the staff Katrina Okinay Paluga, staff DG Jao Sumente, Councilor Analu Zambrano, Councilor Jarusha Rekla, Councilor Karen Gamolo, Councilor Homelisa Gimko, Councilor Francis Jean Butal, Councilor Ray Anthony Sulatan, Councilor Romeo Tianzon Jr., Councilor Jethro Sabang, SK Federation President Francesca Ray Macapayag, Councilor Mary Joy Verso, SK Federation President Mayrel Ann Sobre Juanite, Councilor Paulo Enrico Beja, Councilor Gelbes Vergara, SK Federation President Jeric Tibalbag, Councilor Joseph Guipetacio, SK Federation President Carl Alexis Dandasan, that's SK Federation President Julius Irving A. Igtos, Councilor Carl Alexis G. Dandasan, Councilor Patrick L. Ayuban, Councilor Mark T. Bautista, Liga Federation President Rico Doydoy, and Councilor Regis Capuyan.
To the distinguished guests of the Honorable Jonathan Keith Flores of the 2nd District of the province of Bukidnon, the Honorable Larnie Roque of the 4th District of the province of Bukidnon, and the Honorable Arlene P. Ayon of Suerte Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of Representative Howard A. Ginto of the 1st District of Capiz, and Representative Jane Castro of the 2nd District of Capiz. Also members of the National Movement of Young Legislators from the province of Capiz, and they are Vice Mayor Glea Rose Nachuela, Vice Mayor Jose Romeo Yap, Board Member Jose Fulgencio Del Rosario, Board Member Narisa Joy Gabukay, Councilor Joshua Dumapig, Councilor Dan Justin Eslabon, Councilor Crisel Joy Diaz, Councilor Zoe Maria Herrera, Councilor Julia Serdon, Councilor Dave Ranier Basiliano, Councilor Dresden Jan Beldia, Councilor Nicole Delphine, Councilor John Manrique Figueroa, Councilor Clint Bernard Almeida, Councilor Vincent Bolina, Councilor Vincent Dangan III, Councilor Joe Fred Sheen Umbas, Sangguniang Kabataan President, Aldion Buhat, Sangguniang Kabataan President, Elton John Dolor, SK Federation President Miko Dumagpi, SK Federation President Catherine Marie Kirao, Sangguniang Bayan Member Rolindo Bulan, also Hector Morales, Charmin Tumlos, and Adelia Biclar, Liga President Deli Hassan, SK Federation President Spencer Paul Huang, and lastly, Sangguniang Bayan Member Christopher Alayon.
To the distinguished guests of Honorable Howard Ginto and the Honorable Jane Castro, both from the province of Capiz, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, we may request to acknowledge the guest of Honorable Nathaniel Udocado from One Tahanan Party List, the Councilor Tuto S.J. Salcedo from the Lone District of Concepcion, Iloilo City.
to the distinguished guest of the Honorable Nathaniel Attorney Nat Odocado from One Tahanan Party List, Councilor Toto S.J. Salcedo from the Lone District of Concepcion, Iloilo City. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, may we request to acknowledge the guest of Representative Rosalie Mami Rose Ang Salvame from the 1st District of Palawan, the officials in the province of Palawan, Honorable Christopher Jake Tan, Honorable Percival Austria, and Honorable Edson Bual.
to the distinguished guests of the Honorable Rosalie Mami Rose Ang Salvame of the 1st District of Palawan, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, we may request to acknowledge the guest of Honorable Dibo Tuan from the 3rd District of South Cotabato, the Councilor Kirk T. Tuan, and SK Federation Marwel Sugan.
to the distinguished guests of the Honorable Dibo S. Tuan of the 3rd District of South Cotabato, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, we may request the guest to acknowledge the guest of Honorable Dada Kiram Ismula, namely Evert De Boer, Jose Valencia, Maria Dolores Padilla, Avelino Mendoza Jr., Elena Sana, Dana Althea Heisler, Philly Rose Mendoza, Erenio Hillis, Angelica Kate Heisler, Cora Balane, KZ Kagaanan, and Jojo Kagaanan.
to the distinguished guests of the Honorable Dada Kiram Ismula of the Akbayan Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of the Honorable Daphne A. Lagon from the 6th District of Cebu. And they are the following: Meryl Reynado, Aizen Reynado, Marlu Rabina. Mr. Speaker.
to the distinguished guests of the Honorable Daphne Lagon of the 6th District of Cebu, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, may we also recognize the guests of the Honorable Kaka J. Bagao. And they are the following po. They are from the Lone District of the Nagat Islands, and they are the following: Jose Valencia, Everett C. Boer, Maria Dolores Padilla, Avelino P. Mendoza Jr., Feli Rose B. Mendoza, Dana Althea M. Hisoler, Angela Kate Medina Hisoler, Ellen Sana, Gregory Valencia Medina, Areneo Hills. Mr. Speaker.
to the distinguished guests of the Honorable Kaka Bagao of the Lone District of Dinagat Province, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the guest of Congressman Mark Anthony Santos from the Lone District of Las Piñas, his beautiful wife, Joanne E. Santos.
to the beautiful and only wife of the Honorable Mark Santos of the Lone District of Las Piñas, ma'am, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to our rules, today being a Monday, I move to open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The privilege hour is now open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the lady from the ML party list, the Honorable Laila M. De Lima, to avail of her privilege hour.
The Honorable Laila M. De Lima of the party list ML is recognized. Madam, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. I rise today on a matter that cuts to the heart of justice, sovereignty, and our moral standing before the world. The confirmation of charges hearing before the International Criminal Court involving former President Rodrigo Duterte. This is not a moment for triumphalism. It is not a moment for vengeance. It is a watershed moment for reckoning. Let us begin with the facts. For years, during the so-called war on drugs, thousands of Filipinos, overwhelmingly poor, urban, and marginalized, were killed in police operations and vigilante-style executions. Official figures acknowledged more than 6,000 deaths. Independent human rights groups estimate far more. These deaths were not isolated incidents. They were not random acts of rogue officers. They were accompanied by public pronouncements encouraging lethal force. They were marked by patterns. Similar police reports, recurring narratives of nanlaban, and a climate of impunity that emboldened violence. Huwag na po tayong maglokohan. Alam natin lahat kung paano pagyabang ni Duterte ang pagpatay sa mga pinaghihinalaang adik at kriminal na walang paglilitis. Halos araw-araw nating narinig ang kanyang pag-eengganyo sa kapulisan na pumatay. Sa hearing sa Senado at sa kamarang ito, itinuro niya sina Bato de la Rosa at iba pang mga dating hepe ng Davao City Police Office na namuno sa kanyang Davao Death Squad. Sa bibig niya mismo nang galing na may sarili siyang death squad na kinabibilangan ng 7 miyembro. Sa harap ng Quadcom, pinangalanan ko isa-isa ang mga miyembrong ito ayon rin sa testimonya ni Edgar Matobato at Arturo Las Cañas. Hindi itinanggi ni Duterte ang mga pangalan nila. Under the International Criminal Court's founding treaty, the Rome Statute, crimes against humanity include murder committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack directed against a civilian population. The ICC prosecutor alleges precisely that the killings were widespread and systematic, and that they were carried out pursuant to or in furtherance of state policy. That is why the former president is facing a confirmation of charges hearing which sets to start today, February 26. Any moment now, that hearing, confirmation of charges, will start. Hindi po ito dahil sa pamumulitika. Hindi rin po ito dahil sa impluwensya ng dayuhan. Nasasakdal po si Rodrigo Duterte dahil may nangyaring paglabag sa international law at kailangan niyang managot kung mapatunayan ang kanyang kasalanan. There are those who argue that the former president's arrest, and I must stress, it was an arrest, not kidnapping. There are those who argue that the former president's arrest should have first gone through Philippine courts, that our judiciary was bypassed. Kamakailan lamang naglabas ng resolusyon ng minorya sa Senado na humihiling na idaan sa korte ang pag-aresto sa mga may ICC warrant, katulad ng ating inaasahan na magkakaroon rin sina Senator Bato de la Rosa at Senator Bongo. Magkalinawan tayo. Wala pong batas na nagsasabi na ang warrant of arrest ng ICC ay kailangan dumaan sa korte ngayong hindi na miyembro ng ICC ang Pilipinas. Walang batas na nagbibigay ng jurisdiction sa kahit anumang korte sa Pilipinas sa pag-review ng mga warrant ng ICC. Walang batas na nagsasabi ng ICC warrant ay parang extradition request na kailangang dumaan sa korte. Ang meron tayo isang extradition law na nagsasabi na mga extradition request lamang ang kailangang dumaan sa korte. Ang meron tayo, Republic Act number 9851, or the Philippine Law on Crimes Against International Humanitarian Law, Genocide, and Other Crimes Against Humanity, na nagsasabi na kapag may warrant of arrest na inisyo ang isang international court, katulad ng ICC, pwede nang isuko kaagad ang pamahalaan ang nakapangalan sa warrant ng ICC. Sa madaling salita po, ang ginawang pakikipagtulungan ng pamahalaan sa ICC na pinadaan sa Interpol ay pagsunod lamang sa batas. At hindi pwedeng palitan ng minorya ng Senado ang ating mga batas na dumaan sa Kamara, buong Senado at sa Pangulo sa pamamagitan ng isang resolusyon lamang. Withdrawal from the Rome Statute did not erase obligations incurred while membership was in effect. Jurisdiction, once properly established, does not vanish at a stroke of a pen. To require an additional layer of domestic judicial review before honoring an ICC warrant, absent any constitutional prohibition, would effectively allow states to shield suspects through procedural delay. The rule of law does not mean multiplying obstacles to accountability. It means respecting binding legal processes, whether domestic or international. May mga nagtatanong, bakit di na lang dito litisin si Rodrigo Duterte? Bakit kailangan sa ICC pa maganap ang paglilitis? Meron po kasing tinatawag na prinsipyo or principle of complementarity. Ibig sabihin, kapag hindi ginagawa ng isang bansa o hindi kaya ng isang bansa na magsagawa ng tapat at makatotohanang investigasyon at paghahatol, saka papasok ang ICC. Ngayon, magdiretsahan po tayo. Noong panahon ng drug war, may nakita ba tayong kapanipaniwalang investigasyon sa mga matataas na opisyal? Nasampahan ba ng kaso ang mga naglatag ng polisiya? Masigasig ba ang mga institusyon sa pagpapanagot sa mga umabuso sa kapangyarihan? Malinaw po ang sagot sa mga tanong na yan. The few domestic cases that moved forward focused narrowly on specific incidents involving only or often involving low-level officers. There was no comprehensive investigation into command responsibility, no sustained effort to examine whether there was a deliberate, coordinated campaign. When domestic institutions fail to function as guarantors of accountability, whether through fear, political pressure, or structural weakness, the international community has established mechanisms precisely to prevent impunity. The ICC is not an affront to sovereignty. It is an expression to it, or an expression of it. We voluntarily became a party to the Rome Statute. We bound ourselves to a system that says if we cannot or will not prosecute grave international crimes, the world will not stand idle. Sa international law, may mga krimen na sobrang kasuklam-suklam sa sangkatauhan, mga tinatawag na crimes against humanity. Ang Rome Statute at ang ICC ang napagkasunduan ng higit sa 100 miyembro ng UN na tatayong korte para sa mga kasuklam-suklam na mga krimeng ito. Ang pagpatay sa libo-libong tao nang walang paglilitis gamit ang kapangyarihan ng Estado ay isa sa mga kasuklam-suklam na krimen na nasasakop ng jurisdiction ng ICC. Dahil sa krimeng ito, kaya inaresto at ngayon ay nasasakdal si Duterte. Nauna ang ICC sa pag-imbestiga kay Duterte. Ayon sa RA 9851, kapag nauna ang ICC, pwedeng ipagliban na ang pag-usig sa kanya sa Pilipinas at hayaan na lamang na magpatuloy ang ICC. Ito ang nangyari sa kaso ni Duterte na hindi lamang sang-ayon sa Rome Statute, kundi pati na rin sa ilalim ng sarili nating batas. To insist now that everything must be tried domestically when years have passed without genuine accountability at the highest levels is to ignore the very safeguards embedded in international law. Finally, let us confront an uncomfortable truth. While the ICC moves to examine the alleged masterminds of the drug war, What has happened to the thousands of cases involving low-level enforcers? Where are the systematic prosecutions of police officers implicated in suspicious operations? Where are the command investigations within the chain of command? Where are the administrative and criminal sanctions in cases with glaring inconsistencies? The present administration has spoken of recalibrating policy. It has spoken of reviewing cases. But review without prosecution is not justice. Recalibration without accountability is not reform. If we truly believed that the Philippines is capable of handling these cases domestically, we would see vigorous, transparent prosecutions, not only of those at the top, but also of those who pulled the trigger and those who falsified reports. The tragedy is this. While international prosecutors prepare to argue that crimes against humanity were committed, many families of victims here at home are still waiting for accountability in the killing of their loved ones. As far as we know, there have been only few investigations and prosecutions here, and only 5 convictions involving only low-level perpetrators. Hindi pa nga natin alam ano nang nangyayari sa mga kaunting investigasyon sa mga drug war killings dito sa atin. Justice delayed domestically becomes justice outsourced internationally. Dear colleagues, this is not about personalities, it is about principle. If we believe that no one is above the law, then we must accept that even a former president may stand before an international tribunal. If we believe in sovereignty, we must also believe in the rule of law commitments we freely undertook. If we believe in justice for the poor, we must ensure that their deaths are not reduced to statistics, nor their families silenced by fear. The confirmation of charges hearing at the International Criminal Court, which may be happening at this very moment now, is only a procedural step. It is not yet a conviction. It is not yet a verdict. It is the beginning of a formal process where evidence will be tested and rights will be protected. Let the process unfold. Let evidence be presented. Let the truth, wherever it leads, to be established in the ICC as an international court of law. For too long, the drug war was framed as a battle between order and chaos. But the real divide has always been between impunity and accountability. Today, we must choose. I stand for accountability. I stand for the rule of law. And above all, I stand for the Filipino people, especially the voiceless, the powerless, and the grieving, who deserve nothing less than justice. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable De Lima. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the lady from the Kabataan Party List, the Honorable Rene Co, for her interpellation.
The Honorable Rene Co is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is the sponsor of the speech available to answer some questions in relation to the topic of her speech?
It would be my pleasure, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know that despite the fact that the coverage of crimes that is charged by against President Duterte na nakaharap ngayon sa ICC ay nasa period na nasa loob pa ng Rome Statute ang Pilipinas, the unfortunate reality ay pinwersa ni President Duterte na umalis na ang Pilipinas sa Rome Statute so that matanggal, in an attempt na matanggal yung mga naging presidential orders niya from the jurisdiction of the ICC. So I'd like to ask Mr. Speaker, what are the thoughts of my distinguished colleagues sa pagsasali muli ng Pilipinas sa International Criminal Court, no, at ratify muli ng Rome Statute sa jurisdiction na ito?
Okay, hindi po ibig sabihin dahil nag-withdraw na. At yung withdrawal ay ginawa mismo ni President ng dating Pangulo Rodrigo Duterte. Hindi po ibig sabihin hindi na po tayo Hindi na po siya masasakdal, hindi na po siya maiimbestigahan at masasakdal. Dahil nga po malinaw din sa Rome Statute that the withdrawal of a state party does not absolve the state party also from its obligations incurred during the time or during the period where we were still a state party. And that means from 2011, nung na-ratify po ng Senado yung Rome Statute, and 2019, when the withdrawal from the Rome Statute became effective, and that was in 2019. And there was also a Supreme Court ruling from our very own Supreme Court in the case of Pangilinan et al. Versus Cayetano et al. Na kahit nga po nag-withdraw na, hindi ibig sabihin ay wala nang pakialam ang ICC. Dahil nga po, meron tayong mga obligasyon na hindi natin pwedeng basta-basta na lang talikuran nung panahon na naganap yung mga alleged crimes against humanity being attributed to the former president. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
At Mr. Speaker, so to clarify, ano po ang pagtingin ng distinguished colleague natin sa pag-rejoin natin sa Rome Statute?
I'm all for it. This representation, I'm all for it. I've been calling for the Philippine government, the current administration, to consider rejoining the ICC because it's the only international mechanism of accountability that can be relied upon or depended upon. If domestic mechanisms of accountability fail, or if the state refuses or unwilling or unable to genuinely investigate the crimes that are under the jurisdiction of the ICC, and that includes crimes against humanity. Paano po kung in the future there will be again another tyrant that will rule our country? And ganun na naman, gumawa na naman ng mga kasuklam-suklam na mga krimen covered by that, crimes against international humanitarian law, genocide, and other crimes against humanity. Na katulad nung drug war killings, naklarado po that this was systematic pursuant to a state policy. Ganun na naman ho ba tayo? Baka na, kasi you know, when most of the cases that fall or that are brought to the ICC are those involving powerful figures, including heads of state. And ordinarily, the domestic mechanisms of accountability become deficient. And sabi ko nga, kailangan mo natin mag-rejoin sa ICC. It does not only improve our very own standing in the international community, that we do respect international law, that we do respect jurisdiction of international bodies with competent jurisdiction, ay pinapakita po natin na hindi po tayo takot na makipag-coordinate uli sa ICC as an international tribunal if a similar situation happens in the future. Thank you. So I strongly call for the government to consider rejoining ICC or the Rome Statute.
A final question, Mr. Speaker. Given that our distinguished colleague is a legal luminary and used to be a member of the Senate of the Philippines, which has the duty to ratify international treaties that the government enters into, ano po ba ang unang step para po mag-rejoin ang Philippines sa Rome Statute?
Unang-una po, syempre, ay dapat sa executive yan with the DFA. The executive has to make a decision whether or not to rejoin. And then the decision of the president or the executive will be submitted to the Senate for ratification. Para yung una rin na pag-ratify natin ng Rome Statute nung 2011, ay ganun din po ang proseso na dapat gawin sa atin. Thank you.
So, it means, Mr. Speaker, nasa kamay po ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ang pag-rejoin ng Philippines sa International Criminal Court, sa Rome Statute, alinsunod sa international principles of justice and accountability.
That is correct, Mr. Speaker. The initiative is on the part of the chief executive as the architect, the chief architect of foreign policy, and with respect also to international relations, with the assistance, of course, and the advice of the Department of Foreign Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We'd like to echo the sentiments of our distinguished colleague and of course open on the floor that actually today this representation alongside members of the Makabayan Bloc filed House Resolution number 809 expressing the sense that the government of the Philippines consider rejoining the Rome Statute so that we are again under the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. And again, nasa bola po ito ng ating Pangulo ngayon, si Marcos Jr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Honorable Ko. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable De Lima as well as the interpellations to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The speech of Honorable Laila De Lima as well as the interpellation of the Honorable Ko is referred to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from the Lone District of Las Piñas City, the Honorable Representative Mark Anthony Santos, to avail of the privileged hour.
The Honorable Mark Anthony Santos of the Lone District of Las Piñas is recognized. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I rise on a matter of urgent national importance. One that connects Metro Manila, Cebu, Rizal, and every Filipino community that depends on safe, responsible waste management. Last January 23, the Metropolitan Development Authority and the Department of Energy signed a landmark agreement to push waste-to-energy projects in Metro Manila. The objective is clear and practical. Less waste, less flooding, more energy. Sa papel, tama. Sa prinsipyo, makabago. At sa timing, kailangan talaga. Dahil nauubos na ang landfill capacity sa ating rehiyon. But while we are signing MOAs in conference rooms, families in other provinces are mourning beside mountains of garbage. In Cebu City, 36 lives were lost after the catastrophic collapse of the Binaliw landfill. 36 human beings, hindi numero, hindi data point, mga anak, mga magulang, mga manggagawa. 10 days silang hinukay mula sa basura. Now in Rodriguez Rizal, around 50 people are feared missing matapos ang isa pang landfill collapse. 2 bata ang nakaligtas. Isa hanggang bewang ang pagkabaon sa basura. Ang isa hanggang lieg. Mr. Speaker, when children are buried alive in garbage, that is not just an environmental issue. That is a moral emergency. So today, we must confront difficult questions. Are our sanitary landfills truly sanitary? Are they engineered facilities or overfilled ticking time bombs? Are our regulators proactive or reactive? Only after bodies are counted. Because landfill collapse is rarely just an accident. It is often the result of, number 1, overcapacity. Number 2, poor slope management. Number 3, weak compaction controls. Number 4, inadequate leachate systems. Number 5, insufficient monitoring. And sometimes, regulatory complacency. Kapag ang bundok ng basura ay kasing taas ng 20-story building, hindi na iyon simpleng waste storage. Structural risk na iyon. And when reports surface of alleged intimidation of residents and media restrictions, if true, that adds another dangerous layer, lack of transparency. Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear. This representation supports innovation. We support waste to energy, but not blindly. Waste to energy is not a silver bullet. It is not magic. It is not press release solution. It is a tool. A tool requires strict safeguards. If we fail to regulate properly, we may simply transfer the danger. From landfill collapse to toxic emissions, from uncontrolled waste piles to poorly supervised incineration system, energy security cannot replace environmental responsibility, and environmental responsibility cannot override human safety. We must strike balance, and that requires leadership, not slogans. Mr. Speaker, this issue is deeply connected to flooding in Metro Manila. Residual waste clogs our waterways. Every heavy rain, every typhoon, every habagat, plastic and garbage choke our drainage systems. But here's the bigger truth. Waste mismanagement is not just a technical problem. It is governance problem. Why are thousands of families still dependent on landfill scavenging for survival? Because poverty pushes them there. Because livelihood alternatives are insufficient. Because informal workers operate in high-risk zones with minimal protection. So when landfill collapses, it is only infrastructure that fails. It is a social protection that fails. It is urban planning that fails. It is oversight that fails. Mr. Speaker, if we truly want cleaner, greener Metro Manila and safer Philippines, then we must act decisively. Therefore, I respectfully call for, first, a congressional inquiry in aid of legislation on landfill structural safety nationwide. Second, a national audit of all sanitary landfills, including slope stability reports, compaction data, and leachate management systems. Third, a mandatory public disclosure of landfill capacity status and risk assessments. Fourth, clear criminal liability for operators who violate engineering safety standards. Fifth, strong whistleblower protection for workers, scavengers, residents who report unsafe practices. And sixth, a parallel program that ensures alternative livelihood and protection for families who depend on landfill economies. Because prevention is cheaper than disaster response. Accountability is stronger than condolence, and regulation is more powerful than rhetoric. Mr. Speaker, we must also examine how private operators are supervised. Are contracts performance-based? Are inspection independent? Are penalties enforced or negotiated? We cannot allow regulatory capture to bury justice under garbage. If a landfill collapse kills dozens, that is not just an unfortunate event. That is systems failure. And system failures demand institutional reform. Let us also reflect on climate realities. Extreme rainfall is increasing. Soil instability is increasing. Urban waste generation is increasing. If our waste management systems are not designed for climate resilience, then we are building disasters in slow motion. Waste to energy, if done properly, can help reduce landfill volume. Transparent environmental impact assessment. It must include community consultation and it must never replace aggressive waste segregation and recycling programs, because the best waste solution is still reduction at source. Mr. Speaker, ang mga namatay sa Cebu ay hindi natin maibabalik. Ang mga nawawala sa Rizal ay hindi natin mababawi ang trauma ng kanilang pamilya. What we can still do is ensure that no more Filipinos buried under preventable neglect. Hindi dapat normal ang landfill collapse. Hindi dapat routine ang rescue operation sa bundok ng basura. Hindi dapat ang headline natin buwan-buwan ay another tragedy. The headline must change. From disaster to reform. From collapse to compliance. From silence to transparency. Mr. Speaker, development must stand on solid ground, not unstable garbage mountains. Energy must power our cities, not bury our citizens. And governance must protect the most vulnerable, especially those whose voices are weakest. Let us not wait for the next collapse, because if we do nothing today, the next tragedy will not be an accident. It will be consequence. And history will ask, what did we do when warning signs were already clear? This representation chooses action. I urge this chamber to do the same. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Honorable Santos, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from Quezon City, the Honorable Bong Suntay, for his interpellation.
The Honorable Santay is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through you. While I agree with the privileged speech of our honorable colleague, kung maaari lang magtanong ako, sa iyong kaalaman, ilang bansa na ba ang gumagamit nitong waste-to-energy technology?
According to the research of my staff, alam niyo po, ang unang-unang bansa po na talagang mahigpit sa environmental protection ay ang mga Europeans. At I think 80s pa po nila ginagawa ito, like the countries like Sweden, Denmark, and ngayon po dito sa Asia and ASEAN region, halos ng kapitbahay, our ASEAN brothers are doing waste-to-energy program. Like the number one, for example, is the country of Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia.
Well,
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, and I agree with you. In fact, there are 23 European countries that have adopted waste-to-energy. In Europe, there are 23 countries. In the Asia Pacific, including Japan, who has very stringent environmental laws, there are 12 Asian countries in the Asia Pacific region. In the Americas, such as US and Canada, Canada has very strict environmental laws. They have also adopted waste-to-energy. In the Middle East, including Africa, South Africa, there are 6 countries that has adopted the same. Now, ito rin yung pinagtataka ko, Mr. Speaker. Napakaraming bansa that have chosen to adopt waste-to-energy in their countries, pero dito sa Pilipinas hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin natin ito ginagamit or we have yet to adopt it. Would you know, Mr. Speaker, kung ano yung mga dahilan, kung bakit dito sa atin, ano ang nagiging balakid sa pag-adopt nito? Samantalang, kung makikita natin, most of our sanitary landfill, open dump sites, mas malaki ang problemang dinudulot because of yung mga leachate na that goes to our running water. In fact, sa amin lang sa Quezon City, naging problema yan because Payatas dump site, napakalapit sa meron tayong dam sa may Quezon City. Pangalan ng dam 'yon. Sa District 2 kasi. No, yung Payatas yung dump site, pero yung
La Mesa Dam.
We have La Mesa Dam. which is actually just a street away from the Payatas dam site. And in time, we have studies have shown that leachate from the dam site has found its way doon sa La Mesa Dam. Kaya pinagtataka ko, bakit hindi pa ina-adapt? And in fact, ang nagiging dahilan was because of yung environmental protection. But in your opinion, in your study, Mr. Privileged Speaker, ano bang nagiging balakid?
Mr. Speaker, sa akin pong pagkakaalam, number one, meron po tayong Clean Air Act. At hindi po ako nakakasigurado kung ito bang pinirmahan ng MMDA at Department of Energy na kanilang kasunduan ay kanila lang ipagpapatuloy or ito ba ay exempted sa Clean Air Act. Number one, yung emission, Mr. Speaker. And then, of course, hindi na ipinupush na po ito ng ating Pangulo ngayon. I think with the signing last January 23 na ipupush na ang waste to energy. In fact, Mr. Speaker, dahil kami ay galing kagaya ni Kong Bong sa local governments at iba pang mga kasama namin dito, kailangan na po natin ito. At maari, siguro, ay talagang pinipilit lang ng ating pamahalaan na maging stricto ang standard na i-apply natin dito sa Waste to Energy program. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Well, actually, that observation is quite accurate. I remember when I was still with the local government unit as a councillor, we have proposed several times to adopt a waste-to-energy technology instead of operating the sanitary landfill in Payatas. Pero ang laging nagiging balakid was the provisions of the Clean Air Act that prohibited the use of incineration to convert the waste into energy. However, as we all know, even Singapore has adopted existing technology. Incineration din yung ginagamit nila, pero yung emission is so low that that even the country like Singapore has come to adopt such a method. And hindi lang naman incineration ang waste to convert yung waste to energy. There's gasification, pyrolysis, anabolic conversion. There are a lot of methods. Pero palagay ko, ang unang dapat gawin natin is to amend that provision in the Clean Air Act. Would the good privileged speaker have any intentions to introduce such an amendment to the Clean Air Act?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this representation will gladly accept the proposal of the Honorable Congressman from Quezon City. And while the representation from Quezon City, Kong Bong Suntay, mentioned Singapore, siguro po, magiging maganda po ang programang ito kung gagayahin natin ang model ng Singapore. Number one, lock in emissions, limits, and public reporting. Number two, require continuous emission monitoring for key pollutants. Real-time public dashboard per facility. Singapore-style regulatory clarity is the benchmark, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, now, aside from yung possible amendments sa Clean Air Act, I think meron rin tayong mga dapat paghandaan. For example, on a policy and regulatory framework, dahil amending the Clean Air Act on that incineration provision would not be enough. Dahil pagdating naman sa national and local level, there are existing laws and ordinances which do not agree with one another because of the absence of a coherent national waste-to-energy policy, which is, I think, needed before we could move towards a waste-to-energy program. Pangalawa, there is a fragmented waste management law at a local versus national level, as I have mentioned. So yung mga bagay na yan, I think, kailangan rin mapag-aralan. And finally, pagdating naman sa investment, sino ba sa inyong panukala o inyong pag-iisip, who should invest in this technology? Should it be the national government? Should it be the local government unit? Or should we allow the private sector to come in? What would, in your opinion, what would be the best method in achieving this?
Mr. Speaker, in my sit-down meeting with the MMDA, alam niyo po, nire-recommend po nila na parang regionalize natin. For example, Mr. Speaker, sa Metro Manila, kasi wala pong mag-i-invest sa atin kung bawat LGU ay magtatayo ng waste-to-energy program. Hindi po magiging feasible yan doon sa mag-i-invest. And I think in Metro Manila, they're recommending about 3 regional, under the 17 LGUs. At i-regionalize nila at groupings ang gagawin, siguro. And of course, the most recommendable is the PPP, Private and Public Partnership Program. Para sa inyong kalamang, Mr. Speaker, ang inyong pong likod ay siguro pangatlo sa nag-sponsor, nag-author ng ordinance ng single-use plastic nung araw. At hindi naging solusyon natin ang single-use plastic. Kaya't dapat siguro, dahil sa problema natin sa baha, problema natin sa kahirapan, ay dapat siguro mas magandang pag-aralan nating mabuti. At sa pamamagitan ng isang congressional investigation, magkakaroon tayo ng kaalaman tungkol sa mga batas na ating pang ipapasa dito sa Kongreso. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, well, to our good colleague, well, I am a firm believer in waste-to-energy method of garbage disposal and garbage utilization. At makakaasa po kayo, pagka sumusog kayo o meron kayong may panukalang batas kayo na ifa-file, ay maasahan nyo po na ito'y aking susuportahan at the committee level, kung meron ho kayong mga pag-aaral na gagawin, I hope that I can be invited dahil kaisa nyo ako dito sa inyong pananaw. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you, Honorable Santay. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the lady from Kabataan Party List, the Honorable Representative Rene Co, for her interpellation.
The Honorable Rene Co is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the distinguished colleague open to several clarificatory questions regarding their speech?
It will be my privilege, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just also like to share that I've had the opportunity to visit while we were in Cebu from a public consultation last week. Binisita na rin natin yung Binaliw, no, landfill, na yun din ay naging trahedya last month. 37 people died as a result of a landslide or trash slide dahil sa landfill na halos hindi na po makontrol yung kanyang height, kakulangan ng observation ng occupational safety and health standards, and pagpapabaya sa tamang solid waste management plan at pangangalaga sa kalikasan. May I ask or may I clarify, is the representative proposing waste to energy as the primary solution to the tragedies that happened in Binaliw, Cebu, and in Rodriguez, Rizal?
Mr. Speaker, hindi po lang waste to energy ang solusyon natin sa problema. Kagaya po ng aking binanggit, Mr. Speaker, I requested for a congressional inquiry in aid of legislation on landfill structural safety nationwide. Bagamat sinusulong natin ang waste to energy, ang importante po ay mapanatili natin na safe ang mga landfill po natin. Kung nung makalawa ay nagkaroon ng trahedya, kailan ang susunod? So hindi lang po waste to energy, kundi solusyon po sa lahat ng problema. Hindi lang sa basura, sa baha, At ang buhay ay ang pinakaimportanting parte ng aking nire-request sa Kongreso. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I join the honorable representative in their push for having a congressional inquiry in relation to these tragedies that occur in the landfills of the Philippines. Sa ideal po, no, wala nga dapat tayong mga malalaking landfills. Dahil, to me, this is evidence, no, of a failure of a solid waste management plan na dapat sa national ay naipapatupad, pero kahit sa lokal, no, ay nai-observe and even na-update lagi. No? So actually, Mr. Speaker, aside from joining the representative for having a congressional inquiry, no, and opening up that, this representation would be open to co-author such a resolution. Number two, kailangan talaga nating i-review kung paano po ba napapatupad ang Solid Waste Management Act. No, sa katunayan, sa bawat local government unit, dapat merong solid waste management plan na dapat 10 years ang kanyang duration. Periodically nire-review, no? I-renew kapag nag-expire na yung 10-year period na yan. And ideally, subject to adjustments if necessary. No? Kamusta nga ba yung pag-implement nito sa ating mga local government units? I think that should be also similarly a subject of that congressional inquiry. But number three, gusto ko pong i-flag that waste to energy is not a solution that is in line with how the international community is looking at paano pangalagaan yung kalikasan at i-resolve yung issue ng basura. I'd like to ask, is the representation aware that yes, there are waste to energy efforts and plans in developed countries, but that there is also a push away from waste to energy and instead towards zero waste framework. Is the representation aware po of this?
Mr. Speaker, ang aking pong isinusulong ay talagang stricter environmental protection, strict emissions kagaya ng Singapore. At magagawa po natin yan. Kung nagawa po ng Singapore at ibang mga kapitbahay nating bansa kagaya ng Indonesia, Thailand, siguro po, kayang-kaya din po natin yan. At regarding the solid waste management plan na binanggit, ang bawat local government units po ay may tinatawag na local solid waste management plan. At yan po ay kagaya din po ng mga comprehensive land use plan, annual investment plan. Yan po ay pinoprograma. Kaya ang DENR po, ang ahensya ng ating gobyerno na dapat minomonitor po yan. At in fact, may mga inspection team po. Maraming ahensya under DNR, ang Environmental Management Bureau, at marami pang iba. Kaya dapat alamin natin kung ito ba, at bilang Kongreso, bilang oversight function natin sa Kongreso, dapat natin alamin kung sila ba ay ginagawa nila ang kanilang mga tungkulin. At kulang ba ang budget nila? Kailangan ba magdagdag tayo? So yan ay malalaman natin through a congressional inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, bilang ito rin po yung points na na-deliver ng representasyon na ito actually in opposition of the House bill that passed on third reading in this chamber on the 20th Congress, now allowing waste to energy, providing for a waste to energy framework, I'd simply like to reiterate the points for contention in relation to the argument that other countries are doing it, why can't we? Incinerator companies are actually peddling and targeting Asian countries in particular for this kind of framework, precisely because in Europe and in US, they are moving away from it. In Europe po, meron na pong ini-implement na EU Action Plan for the Circular Economy. And the European Commission, in a communication in January 2021, said that wala incompatible yung role ng waste to energy in the circular economy. Ang goal po in a circular economy, kung ano mang na-produce, ma-recycle, or sa ibang paraan, ay ma-rehabilitate at maibalik sa economy and hindi ang end product is toxic ash or waste. There is also a move in the United States towards zero waste. There has been no new incinerators built in the United States since 1997. And iba't ibang mga incinerator companies instead look to countries like in Southeast Asia to be the new sources of their income, given that developed countries are moving away from that framework. And actually, ang pangamba po ng mga Southeast Asian countries na wala pang waste-to-energy framework like us, ay baka matulad po sila sa ibang mga bansa that have opened their doors to a waste-to-energy framework. And nagiging dumping ground po siya ng garbage ng developed countries. This is the case in Thailand and in Indonesia, na containers of unsegregated garbage just arrive at their border, leaving communities and their country to deal with what the international community is even terming, parang an illegal syndicate of transboundary waste trade. Yan lang po yung ilang mga apprehensions natin with the waste-to-energy framework, especially para po magpagana ng isang incinerator, hindi po yan papatayin Continuously po yung naka-on, continuously nag-feed ng garbage, and studies show that hindi po enough ang garbage sa NCR and even up to Region 4 para continuously maglagay ng garbage doon. Ang next goal po na possibly tignan ay maging bukas to waste trade from other countries. And we should have a strong opposition against the entrance of garbage of other countries in the Philippines. I just redelivered, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, the points that I reiterated in my opposition to House Bill. Nonetheless, I join the representation in their call for a congressional inquiry para ma-resolve na ang ating waste crisis, to which this representation thinks ang pinakaunang solution natin to do that, investigahan kung bakit ba naging ganito kalala, and then implement a solid waste management plan na kayang tindigan ng pambansa at ng lokal para mag-lead tayo and maging sang-ayon din po sa zero waste framework that is now also being internationally accepted. That's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much to the to my distinguished colleague for answering a few questions, and we're looking forward to working together to end the waste crisis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat,
Honorable
Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from Akbayan Party List, the Honorable Representative Percy Sendanya, for his interpellation.
The Honorable Sendanya is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the good gentleman from Las Piñas yield to a few questions from this representation?
Mr. Speaker, it will be an honor.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker. The 36 lives lost and 18 injured on the trash slide in Binaliw City was no accident. We agree with the representative from Las Piñas City that this is a result of a major systemic failure. It is a direct consequence of regulatory gaps and weak enforcement. We also echo the call of the good representative from Las Piñas for a congressional inquiry on this matter. Earlier, the good representative mentioned the issue of regulatory complacency. Mr. Speaker, yung mabilis lamang pong tanong, when we speak of regulatory complacency, sino po ba yung mga ahensya na nakikita natin na maaaring ipatawag at maaari pong magkwento at tanungin tungkol dito sa issue ng regulatory complacency?
Mr. Speaker, siguro number 1 po ang Department of Environment and Natural Resources, kung saan po sila ang nagbibigay ng mga permits sa mga landfill. And of course, the accountability of local governments. At isa rin po ang Department of Labor and Employment para sa mga manggagawa na namatay dito sa insidenteng trahedya na nangyaring ito. So, we may also request the COMSEC, the Committee Secretary, to help us further give us some more points or the questions that being asked by Representative Sendanya regarding the government agencies. Maybe some of our colleagues here, siguro magkakaroon pa kayo ng pagkakataon bago magkaroon ng hearing na ito na magbigay pa ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno na kailangan nating ipatawag para sa problemang nangyari sa ating bansa. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, marami pong salamat sa naging tugon ng ating po kinatawan mula sa Las Piñas. Nabanggit po niya yung local government units. No? At bukod po doon sa na-provide na tulong ng LGU ng Cebu City sa mga biktima ng Binaliw trash slide, ano pa ang maibibigay na tulong ng LGU upang matiyak ang kaligtasan ng ating mga sanitary workers?
Mr. Speaker, ang local government po ay may tinatawag na disaster fund. At siguro magagamit po yan bilang tulong doon sa mga naulila. At of course, ang may mga livelihood program, ang mga local DSWD or yung city CSWDOs. At of course, makakatulong din tayo sa National Department of Social Welfare and Services po. Makakahingi din tayo ng tulong dyan. And of course, sa national government, hindi lang po sa local government. At yan naman po ay pinakita na ng probinsya ng Cebu at ng Cebu City Local Government ang kanilang tulong sa mga nasawi sa trahedya sa Binaliw, Cebu. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in line with the Solid Waste Management Act, should the LGU and DNR conduct regular checks on our landfills?
Mr. Speaker, definitely. Kailangan po ng kung pwedeng real-time monitoring ay dapat gawin ng local government. Eh napakamura na po ng CCTV ngayon. Oh, kahit saan pong lugar may CCTV. Dapat may inspection po araw-araw ang mga taga-senro. At yan ay hindi lang ang local government, kundi ang national government din. Kailangan bantayan din, even the barangays, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, as a last point, when we speak of regulatory complacency and something as simple as regular checks on this landfills, pag may failure po yung sistema, nakita natin, nagdudulot ito ng pagkamatay at pagkawala ng buhay ng ating kababayan. If only there were these mechanisms in place, if only these mandates under law were fulfilled, hindi po sana tayo nawalan ng 36 na buhay at hindi nasaktan ang 18 nating kababayan. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Sendanya. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable Mark Santos to the Committee on Rules and as well as the interpellations to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? The chair here is none. The motion is approved. The speech of the Honorable Mark Santos as well as the interpellations is referred to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the guests of Honorable Ralph Tulfo from the 2nd District of Quezon City. First and foremost, Barangay Captain of Barangay Batasan Hills, Honorable Jojo Abad. Barangay Captain of Barangay Bagong Silangan, Honorable Willie Cara. President of Batoda, Barangay Batasan Hills, Mr. Jenly Pescio. Barangay Kapitan of Barangay Holy Spirit, Honorable Star Valmosina. Barangay Kagawad Jomar Lagarto. Barangay Kagawad Lydia Ballesteros. Barangay Kagawad Orly Angeles. Barangay Kagawad Maximo Valmosina. Barangay Kagawad Andy Adap. Barangay Kagawad Cynthia Dacanay, and Barangay Secretary Veng Asilo, and Barangay Treasurer Romy Ramos.
To the distinguished guests of the Honorable Ralph Tulfo of the 2nd District of Quezon City from the various barangays, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I also move to recognize the guests of Honorable Javier Miguel Benitez from the Municipality of Murcia, Mayor Victor Gerardo Rojas, and from the Municipality of EB Magalona, Mayor Matthew Malacon.
To the distinguished mayors from the District of Honorable Javi Benitez, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the lady from the 2nd District of Sultan Kudarat, the Honorable Representative Bella Vanessa B. Swan Singh, for her to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Bella Vanessa B. Swan Singh of the 2nd District of Sultan Kudarat is recognized. You may proceed, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, esteemed colleagues, maayong hapon po sa tanan. It is my great honor to speak before this chamber today to most earnestly appeal for its consideration and attention on the immediate physical threats faced by our fellow Filipinos living in coastal areas. It is this representation's privilege to come from the province of Sultan Kudarat, home to a dignified people who pride themselves with their ability to adapt and thrive in situations, with their propensity to find common ground in their similarities in pursuit of collective aspirations, and with their instinct to work for the good of each other, for the current generation and the next. Since January 19, 2026, our province has been struck by more than 3,000 recorded seismic events from what seismologists call an earthquake swarm in the Cotabato Trench. An earthquake swarm is a cluster of earthquakes small to moderate in magnitude, occurring close together in time and location, without any clear pattern in main shocks and aftershocks, which may or may not lead to stronger earthquakes. In our particular case in Sultan Kudarat, the earthquake swarm is caused by the tectonic interaction between the Sonda Plate and the Philippine Mobile Belt. In Sultan Kudarat, the highest magnitude recorded is at 5.9 on January 28, 2026. Just a day or two before that, families living in our coastal municipalities of Lebak, Calamansig, and Palimbang who were subject to preventive evacuation protocols on January 19th were finally able to return to their homes, only to return to evacuation centers and stay there for another week because of the risk of tsunamis. Regarding these recent seismic activities in Sultan Kudarat, our local seismologists at FIVOX pointed out that during our meetings that apparently in the case of the Philippines, as a country in the Pacific Ring of Fire, earthquake swarms are normal and relatively common phenomena. The same that occur worldwide in other volcanic regions like the Pacific Islands, Japan, and California, as a result of the gradual release of stress between two tectonic plates colliding due to movements of fluids or magma under the Earth's crust. Seismologists say that most earthquake swarms taper off without producing stronger earthquakes. And apparently, the recent seismic activity in the Cotabato Trench is distinctive only because the contact point between the two plates is relatively shallow, making them more felt at the ground level. Hearing this information brings much needed comfort and peace of mind to many, Mr. Speaker, especially to us from the coastal areas of Lebak, Calamansig, and Palimbang, who have had to live under the threat of a tsunami striking our area and who have had to stare at the sea since January 19th, hoping, praying that waves do not rise. Thankfully, as of the third week of February, PVOX has observed a sustained, gradual decline in magnitude and in total recorded seismic events in the Cotabato Trench. We, off the coast of Sultan Kudarat, are hopeful that things may continue to go back the way they were before, but continue to observe and be vigilant of what may come. PVOX continually cautions that earthquake swarms, while normal, also indicate that the trenches where they happen are active. And so, future seismic activities should be expected. Knowing this, Mr. Speaker, and since we are finally able, we should then assess and evaluate just how the earthquake swarm in the Cotabato Trench has impacted our daily lives in the Lebak, Calamansig, and Palimbang area. And in turn, how potential seismic activities in the Cotabato Trench may impact not just our communities in Sultan Kudarat, but all coastal communities in the provinces in close proximity to the Cotabato Trench. These are the questions that I have had to grapple with over the past few weeks, Mr. Speaker, as someone entrusted with the responsibility to look after a constituency near the Cotabato Trench. In Sultan Kudarat, we have had to evacuate each time a seismic event reaches 5.5. During the earthquake swarm, 50% of breadwinners in our coastal communities could not go out to sea because fishing activities were suspended. The local services sector has been devastated due to evacuations and suspension of work and classes. Even those engaged in aquaculture have had their livelihoods battered by the ground shaking. Fish ponds in Barangay Tibpuan in Lebac lost all fish due to soil breaking from under the fish ponds, leading to the release of chemicals that resulted to the deaths of their aquacultural species. But above all this, Mr. Speaker, it really is the uncertainty and the unearthing of past trauma. As these earthquake swarms continue in the Cotabato Trench, those of us who know about the 1976 Moro Gulf tsunamis have all the more the imperative to call to action all of the communities who were previously devastated by the earthquakes and the tsunamis. 12:11 midnight of August 17, 1976, exactly 50 years ago, an 8.1 magnitude earthquake hit the waters off the coast of Lebac, Sultan Kudarat. Within 2 minutes of the main shock in the Cotabato Trench, tsunamis as high as 9 meters or 29 feet hit provinces across the Moro Gulf area. 8,000 people across Western Mindanao died during these tsunamis. 2,608 of them came from Maguindanao. 1,143 came from Zamboanga del Sur. 10,000 people more injured. 90,000 people rendered homeless. Our local elders who were there during the 1976 Moro Gulf tsunamis have had to live in recounting the trauma of destruction in these past few weeks, just hoping, praying that what happened before doesn't happen now. The newer generation, who are not aware of the devastation caused by the 1976 tsunamis, have had to bear seeing reports of the earthquake swarms in vague context of the past tsunamis, without proper information and context on what really is going on and what they can do to prepare. And then carry the emotional toll of not knowing what to do and what is going to happen next. While we can do our best to develop frameworks that list indicators of what may signal future seismic activity, in the end, Mr. Speaker, with the very nature of earthquakes, we can monitor, but we cannot truly know. All we can do is assess the risks and prepare, given the facts that we have. And what we have is FIVOX data that shows that the sequence of earthquakes in the Cotabato Trench since January 2026 have occurred in the same region as the rupture area of the 8.1 magnitude Moro Gulf earthquake in August 1976. It has been 50 years, and since 1976, populations in the areas hit by the 1976 Moro Gulf tsunamis have only increased substantially. For the sake of these areas, we have to confront the risks and face them in order to know what to do next. So what happens when the same earthquake hits the same area and generates the same tsunami waves now? On the screen right now is an earthquake simulation model generated by FIVOX on the impact of an 8.4 magnitude earthquake along the Cotabato Trench. You can see here, Mr. Speaker, that under this scenario, it will be Zamboanga del Sur and Lanao del Norte that will be most impacted by PEIS 7 to 8 category earthquakes, or destructive to very destructive. While the rest of regions 9, 10, 12, and the Barm region will be impacted by PEIS 5 to 6 category earthquakes, or strong or very strong. That is Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga Sibugay, Basilan, Misamis Occidental, Iligan City, Misamis Oriental, Bukidnon, Lanao del Sur, North Cotabato, Maguindanao del Norte, Maguindanao del Sur, Sultan Kudarat, Sarangani, General Santos City, South Cotabato. However, the danger lies more with the tsunami waves that will be generated by the earthquake. Here now is a simulation generated by PHIVOX on the impact of an 8.4 magnitude earthquake along the Cotabato Trench on the Moro Gulf area in Western Mindanao. What you see is the initial impact of the 8.4 magnitude earthquake in red. The red waves that you see hit the land are leading waves that hit the shoreline, characterized by high water levels that arrive at the shore, leading to inland flooding and a sudden massive surge of water inland. On the other hand, the blue waves you see here, after the red waves hit the land, are depression waves, which causes the recession of the shoreline. Sa madaling salita, Mr. Speaker, yung unang pula dito, kung pwede po tayong bumalik dun sa kabilang slide yan. Sa madaling salita, Mr. Speaker, yung unang pula dito, sa simulation, ang hudyat ng lindol sa Cotabato Trench. Yung pulang papunta sa baybaying dagat ay yung unang mataas na alon, at yung asul dito ay yung pagbalik or pag-atras ng dagat bago dumating ang susunod pang alon. Makikita dito, Mr. Speaker, na bukod doon sa pinsala ng lindol, may mas malubha pang panganib ng tsunami na nagbabadya sa mga probinsyang sinabi ko kanina. At aabot pa ang mga tsunami waves pakanluran sa Sulu at sa Tawi-Tawi. Within 4 minutes of a main shock in the Cotabato Trench, Mr. Speaker, 24-foot high waves in Zamboanga del Sur. Within 8 minutes, 22-foot high waves across Maguindanao del Norte and Cotabato City. Within 20 minutes, 34-foot high waves across Zamboanga Sibugay. Within 40 minutes, 20-foot high waves in Zamboanga City and in Basilan. Within 50 minutes, waves as high as 13 feet across Isabela City, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. At that point, is a strategy just to evacuate, to accept that this might happen and it can happen and it will. Yes, with the nature of earthquakes, we have to prepare, and we've tried to prepare. We are lucky that our local government units in Sultan Kudarat have been committed in their duties to look after our local communities during these preventive evacuations. We, in the national government, the DSWD Central Office, and the provincial government of Sultan Kudarat have done our very best to provide for our local residents during these times. Moreover, local officers in charge of disaster operations continually undergo seminars, workshops, and trainings like those being conducted by PHIVOX to align municipal protocols on evacuations during tsunami events with international standards. Monitoring and alarm networks for intensity level and sea level monitoring has also been installed in by PHIVOX, not just in Sultan Kudarat, but in the whole of Western Mindanao. But is that enough? Mr. Speaker, if the same earthquake hits the same area and generates the same tsunami waves like those that devastated the Moro Gulf area in 1976. That's 13.3 million people. 13.3 million people will be affected and displaced by earthquakes and tsunamis. 13.3 million. We're doing our best to bring funding for roads. We're doing our best to improve the competitiveness of our local industries. We are doing our best to make sure that our people are secured economically, socially, and we provide for their basic necessities. But the truth of the matter is this: if we cannot safeguard their physical safety, if we cannot secure them from being hit by these waves, all of this will be for nothing. To those watching this who may be thinking, kawawa naman sila sa Western Mindanao. Baka magka-tsunami sa kanila. Well, this is not some isolated experience for us in Western Mindanao, because the Philippines has already been hit by 12 other tsunamis. 2 times in Manila Bay, 2 times in Aurora Province, 2 times in Davao, once in Surigao, twice in the southern Mindanao area, once in eastern Samar, once in La Union, once in Oriental Mindoro. In Oriental Mindoro in 1994, the tsunami wave was so strong that it was able to move a 4,000-ton barge 2 kilometers upstream the Baruyan River. And if you don't live in any of the places that I just mentioned, if you see some seawater 5 minutes away from your house, you're in a tsunami-prone area. 66 out of 82 provinces in the Philippines are tagged as tsunami-prone areas under local and international hazard maps. And maybe others watching this will say that a tsunami is rare, almost like an act of God. To those that they may say that, well, you do not need to wait for an act of God for you to witness a tsunami-like event in the Philippines, because it's already happening across the country every year during the second part of the year in the form of storm surges. Just last year, 10-foot high waves in Bicol and Aurora during Typhoon Uwan, last November 2025. 10-foot high waves in Cagayan, Batanes, and Ilocos during Nando in September 2025. Before that, 19-foot high waves across Aurora, Quezon, Camarines Sur, Eastern Luzon during Carding in 2022. And most notably, 23-foot high waves in Tacloban City during Yolanda in 2013. 6,300 deaths were attributed to storm surges in San Pedro Bay in Leyte Gulf during Yolanda. These waves are as high, if not higher, than the tsunami waves experienced by the parts of the Moro Gulf in 1976. And this is not some one-time rare act of God kind of event. Each time a storm hits the Philippines, there is a possibility of deaths during storm surges. And with rising sea levels, the continued warming of our oceans, the storms will only intensify and be more frequent. And storm surges are only going to get worse. Recent literature on storm surges show that if current trends on climate change continues, the heights of waves due to storm surges will increase by 15% in Europe in 2100. And that's in Europe. We, the Philippines, are one of the most climate change vulnerable countries in the world. We are at the front lines of all of this. Hindi lang kami sa Sultan Kudarat, hindi lang kami sa Western Mindanao, buong Pilipinas. So in light of all of this, what should we do? Mr. Speaker, it is easy to rely on what we already know and what we've been doing for decades to enhance disaster preparedness as we know it, evacuation protocols, social amelioration. And we should enhance and make our operations more efficient. Because the threats on our local communities, particularly those in coastal areas, will only be more intense and will be more frequent in the coming years. We are one of 10 countries in the world that are most severely affected by climate-related disasters. We have to make sure that our rescue operations are swift and efficient, that our food and social service operations are targeted, extensive, and reach those that need them the most, and that we are able to provide shelter, water, hygiene, and all the basic necessities during large-scale evacuations. That's not enough. Mr. Speaker, I'm standing here, first and foremost, a Filipino from Sultan Kudarat. So ganito na lang yun. Tatanggapin na lang natin na talagang mangyayari ito lahat. Yung lindol, yung tsunami, yung landslide, yung storm surge. Wala tayong gagawin para proteksyonan mga sarili natin. Kung ganito na lang din, bakit pa tayo utang? Bakit kapag gagastos ng bilyon-bilyon sa mga daanan, sa mga gusali, sa mga industriya, masisira lang naman din eh. Kapag may bagyo, may lindol, may tsunami, may landslide. And sure, we're in the Philippines and our geography makes us naturally exposed to all of these geohazard threats. But Mr. Speaker, we are all here for a reason. I'm sorry, but I refuse to stand here and accept that all of this will just happen. I refuse to believe that we can't do anything about this. Pinagkatiwalaan tayo ng mga kababayan natin na proteksyonan sila. May responsibilidad tayo para proteksyonan sila. Sa makakaya natin, gawin natin kung ano yung kailangan natin gawin. And okay, we cannot stop tsunamis, we cannot stop storm surges, but we can do something to make sure that especially Filipinos who are in coastal areas, who are living in the most vulnerable parts of the country, are not only safe and secure during these natural calamities, but can adapt and thrive and develop through the same programs and projects that we will implement to protect them. To that end, Mr. Speaker, this representation would like to present this proposal. Here in the Philippines, we already have existing seawalls, breakwaters, and similar structures, but given rising sea levels, the reality of more frequent and more intense episodes of storm surges, and 66 out of 82 provinces being at risk of tsunamis, we have to go 1, 2, 3 steps further than traditional hard structures. We have to reshift our perspective on what coastal defense really is. Not just a line of hard concrete structures, but really an integrated strategic plan that uses multiple solutions from multiple sources as first lines of defense by the coast. And then, to manage flow of water inland and ensure that water can cycle back to waterways instead of being stuck inland and flooding other communities further. So, solutions like natural or artificial coral reefs, sand dunes strengthened by plant debris, or mangroves and other plant species and other nature-based solutions suitable to local land, coupled with hard structures on the coastline to defend communities by the shore against high tidal waves. And then, going inland, a local flood mitigation map connected to the Coastal Defense Plan that incorporates the use of structural interventions with green infrastructure practices and modified building techniques to manage stormwater. So, storm surge floodgates, sluice gates, and the like, working together with dikes, drainage systems, depending, of course, on the topography of the river channels and other water forms in the area, coupled with permeable road pavements, pervious concrete, rain gardens, and bioswales to make sure and manage that there's recirculation of water back to the waterways and then to the ocean is ensured. In crafting such integrated interdisciplinary coastal defense plans for implementation in local coastal communities across the country, fortunately, we are not alone, and we won't be the first country to be doing so. Technologies at every stage of such an integrated coastal defense and flood mitigation plan are already being implemented in localities here in Asia, in the Australia and Oceania region, and in Europe that, like the Philippines, are also affected by storm surges and/or are also at risk of tsunamis. What our responsibility then, as district representatives, as officials of government who know our areas and who can act as bridges between the national programs and our local communities, is to analyze and assess our local areas, review and study these available technologies, see which ones fit in which particular vulnerable part of our coastal areas, see their adaptability to our own respective local contexts, find the appropriate government program or sources of funding for various stages and parts of the coastal defense plans, seek expert advice from local partners in the public and the private sectors, and implement such plans accordingly. Now, easier said than done, right? And it will take lots of work because one coastal defense plan cannot apply to all coastal communities in the Philippines. For example, for us in the 2nd District of Sultan Kudarat, our coastal areas are close to the mountain ranges, which lie directly above the Daguma fault line. And so in the event of a tsunami in the Cotabato Trench, not only is there a risk of tsunamis, but there is also the risk of landslides. The same is the case for storms or heavy rainfall. We're also at risk because of storm surges as we are of landslides. In our case, our office is working on a coastal defense plan along with having to create an anti-landslide mitigation plan. And these two will take from each other and feed off each other. And since the main goal really is not only to secure our coastal communities, but more importantly to help them thrive and adapt amidst the risks and hazards posed by these natural calamities, we're also working on an adaptation and development plan that serves as a local economic roadmap to help our residents adapt livelihoods, local infrastructure, healthcare, and other development strategies in the midst of risks and hazards on the shoreline. For this purpose, we are conducting multiple site assessments, consultations with local groups, national agencies, private sector practitioners, to situate the local context of our coastal communities and identify the best way to accomplish these mitigation, adaptation, and development goals. Admittedly, the status quo right now makes the process more arduous. Existing government programs relating to coastal defense, which uses other modalities besides the traditional seawalls, are scattered across multiple agencies, and there is no one government agency, public body, or one government fund that we can tap into to implement components of these programs. And if there are sources of funding, compliance of documents, requirements is pretty heavy, strict, rigorous. So, as of now, sariling kayod ito, Mr. Speaker. Pero sabi nga namin, kung hindi tayo yung gagawa, sino? Kung hindi natin sisimulan ngayon, kailan pa? In closing, Mr. Speaker, I implore this body, our distinguished colleagues, to analyze the current state of preparedness and readiness of our coastal communities and to do everything in our power to make sure that they are protected from the numerous hazards and risks that arise during these times, and provide them with all means necessary to thrive. Most of us here have coastal areas. Most of us here are representatives of communities who they trusted to look after them. and to do good by that trust. We, as representatives of this body, have the incredible privilege and opportunity to be at the forefront and spearhead these programs. So, Mr. Speaker, in view of this privilege and opportunity, and pursuant to the constitutionally endowed power of this chamber, I respectfully implore the House of Representatives to direct the House Committee on Ecology to conduct an inquiry on existing programs of the national government and existing laws, government rules and regulations, and other related government processes and functions, as well as pending proposals here at the House of Representatives relating to the matter. Relating to the adoption of local coastal defense plans that utilize nature-based and other interventions as may be suitable to the ecological, geological, and geomorphological characteristics of local communities in the Philippines by the coast. In order to expand access to these programs, amend laws if needed, and if necessary, to recommend the formulation of new government programs in pursuit of funding in the fiscal year 2027 national budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maayong hapon muli sa tanan, and may God be with us all.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I move that we extend the privilege hour by another hour.
Any objection? Hearing none, the privilege hour is extended for another hour. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Irene Labadabad from Zamboanga del Norte 2nd District for her interpellation.
The Honorable Irene Labad-Labad is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the gentlelady from Sultan Kudarat yield to a question?
Gladly, Madam Speaker, to the gentlelady from Zamboanga del Norte.
Thank you, Representative Swansing. Madam Speaker, it is truly worrisome that if such calamities and tragedies were to happen, our nation as it currently stands is ill-equipped and does not have the capacity to protect our countrymen, especially those residing in our coastlines. And as representative of the 2nd District of Zamboanga del Norte, where 6 out of 7 municipalities and cities are coastal, I share the same sentiment as Representative Bella Swansing that this august body cannot simply accept that this is all that we can do for them. So I ask Representative Swansing, does the Philippines currently have existing programs for coastal defense protection?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, we have existing programs lodged with the DNR, with the BFAR. Of course, I mentioned already the DPWH. We have the construction of seawalls and the like to protect our coastal areas. Though really the issue is, it really depends. Like if it's going to be a structural, like a gray, like if in terms of like green-gray infrastructure, if it's going to be the green, it's going to be with DNR. If it's going to be with the gray, it's going to be with DPWH. What we find is, of course, it has to be a marriage of nature-based solutions and structural interventions. So really, it is incumbent upon us, like us government officials who would know the area, to tap into the different parts of the different programs of the different local, the different national government agencies. But yes, just to name a few, with DNR, they have the Sustainable Coral Reef Ecosystems Management Program. So these are for the artificial coral reefs. Maybe I'll explain. It was shown in the diagram a while ago. But ideally, the traditional seawalls are not supposed to be the first line of defense. we have to be able to utilize also green infrastructure, well, inland, but like nature-based solutions to serve as multiple layers of defense before they get to the shoreline. Because if it gets to the shoreline, if it's a 9-meter tsunami wave, or it's going to be a 5-foot storm surge wave, and it hits the coastline like just through the seawall, then the seawall is going to break. As much as possible, what we want to do is to establish multiple layers. So will that either be natural or artificial coral reefs to put on there? You have breakwaters, the different jackstones. Those are already being implemented in Eastern Samar and off the western seaboard of the Philippines. And then hopefully before it reaches the traditional seawall, you already have those layers so that by the time it reaches the seawall, the velocity of the wave is has significantly slowed down. But yes, so those are the existing government programs that we can tap into as of the moment, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to also commend Representative Swansing for including nature-based solutions as a way to mitigate these calamities and tragedies that we do need to prepare for. So that's all for me, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Swansing.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, seeing as how there's no further interpellation, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable Swansing as well as the interpellation to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Any objection? Hearing none, the speech of the Honorable Swansing, including its interpellations, is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to recognize the guest of Representative Eric Olivares of the 1st District of Parañaque. Our visitor with us today is Mayor Edwin Olivares.
To the guests of the Honorable Congressman Eric Olivares, our former colleague, a very active member of the House of Representatives before, and an outstanding mayor of the city of Parañaque, Mayor Congressman Edwin L. Olivares, welcome to the House of the People. Maraming salamat sa pagbisita. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from the 2nd District of Sultan Kudarat. I stand corrected. Madam Speaker, I would like to recognize the gentleman from the Lone District of Maguindanao del Sur, Representative Ismael Magundadatu, to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Magundadatu of the Lone District of Maguindanao del Sur is hereby recognized for his privileged speech.
Madam Speaker, esteemed colleagues, visitors, ladies and gentlemen, my warmest salutations to one and all. I rise in privilege to share to this august chamber the sad and frustrating string of violent incidents in Mindanao and seek for your support in an effort to address the social ill that is slowly unraveling the social fabric in the region. Allow me first to enumerate just a handful of incidents that transpired very recently. During the wee hours of January 1, 2026, at least 22 residents of Matalam, Cotabato were rushed to the hospital for treatment of shrapnel wounds after an unidentified man lobbed a grenade at them. The victims were simply having a revelry by setting off pyrotechnics and firecrackers in celebration of the New Year. Another fragmentation grenade explosion took place on January 9, and when a riding tandem lobbed a grenade at a BPAT vehicle that was maneuvering along the road of another barangay in the same municipality. On January 23, 2026, 4 army personnel were killed in an ambush staged by suspected members of ISIS linked Dawla Islamia in Barangay Lininding, Munay, Lanao del Norte. The casualties were members of Task Force Tabang, who were doing civil military works in the remote villages of Munay and were on their way to buy provisions when they were waylaid and killed by an unidentified number of gunmen. Last January 25, 2026, Sharif Aguac, Maguindanao del Sur, Mayor Ahmad Ampatuan Sr. survived an ambush on his convoy when gunmen fired a rocket-propelled grenade and high-powered weapons on the vehicles carrying him and his entourage. The bodies of the alleged gunmen were later discovered inside a bullet-riddled minivan. On the early evening of January 29, 2026, 4 members of a family, again in Matalam, Cotabato, were killed and another one seriously injured when undetermined number of armed men opened fire on the victim, who were just walking back to their home. The eldest among the victims was 20 years old, while the youngest was only 11 years old. On the afternoon of February 3, 2026, Mayor Ronnie Martizano of Barobos, Surigao del Sur, ambushed by unidentified gunmen. It may or may not have bearing to the case, but the ambush happened less than a week after he ordered the dismantling of equipment used in an illegal mining operation. Luckily, he and his driver managed to escape to safety. On February 5, 16-year-old Mayan Lawan of Talayan, Maguindanao del Sur was shot at the forehead by her husband while she was breastfeeding their baby. The alleged motive for the crime was jealousy. On the morning of Wednesday, February 11, the aspirations and joy that Farhadin Ludia used to inspire in his parents came to an abrupt halt when a stray bullet hit him while he was inside his classroom at Barangay de Malabas, Datupiang, Maguindanao del Sur. Prior to the incidents, 2 groups engaged in an armed clash at the nearby municipality of Nabalawag Special Geographic Area. Farhadin Lutia was only 5 years old. A 5-year-old kindergarten pupil was just starting to acquire formal education, yet was deprived of it by a stray bullet that hit him right on his head. I can cite more incidents, Madam Speaker, so much more, but for now, let these incidents I enumerated just now suffice for me to drive my point that undocumented firearms and explosives are still aplenty in Mindanao, especially in the area where I am from. That undocumented firearms and explosives are still in abundance, in spite of the national government and all concerned LGUs, joint collaboration for a Balik-Bari program. That undocumented firearms and explosives are still in abundance in spite of ongoing normalization phase of the GPH-MILF Peace Accord. That undocumented firearms and explosives are still in abundance and are being utilized by private armed groups and resurging violent extremists in sowing fear and disorder in the Bangsamoro core territories and adjacent regions in spite of anti-terrorism efforts of the government and the provisions in the Annex on Normalization of the Comprehensive Agreement of on the Bangsamoro to disband private armed groups. That undocumented firearms and explosives are still the peace gains as they are being effectively utilized by the spoilers of peace to sow a feeling of insecurity and stability among the people and potential investors, thus adversely affecting local market and household economies. That undocumented firearms and explosives are still causing too much damages and disturbances and are adding more scars to the already scar-riddled psyche of the people in the region, especially the unfortunate backwits, internally displaced people who are always getting displaced every time those undocumented high-powered firearms go ablazing with destruction and possible death to anyone who gets caught in between. That as per studies conducted by the Climate Conflict Action Asia, violent extremism is on the rise in the Bangsamoro and nearby regions, as indicated in the 91% rise of violent extremism incidents from 23 in 2024 to 44 in 2025. That the abundant presence of undocumented firearms and explosives is counterproductive to the peace and normalization efforts of the national and regional governments and all concerned stakeholders, aside from acting as another factor for disenfranchised or hopeless youth to choose firearm over skills and education that can further lead to them to joining outlawed or resurging extremist groups in their area. That said, Madam Speaker, I'm standing here before you to beseech for this House intervention by passing a resolution which seeks to protect whatever gains we have reached as a result of the negotiated peace in Mindanao, to protect our youth from the real threats of violent extremism, and to shield our society and social fabric from sustaining further injuries while still on the process of recovery from the scars and wound of our dark past. Specifically, Madam Speaker, I am beseeching for this House to feel for us, the people from Mindanao, by being one with our plight and prayers to have genuine peace, security, and improving human development conditions by supporting a resolution that seeks. For the national government leadership, the Philippine Army and the Task Force for the Disbandment of Private Armed Groups, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, and other concerned agencies and instrumentalities to become more aggressive in disbanding private armed groups and bringing to prosecution those who refuse to yield, and to urge the national government and concerned agencies and instrumentalities to implement projects and other worthy activities that may strengthen the Balikbari program across all LGUs in the Bangsamoro and nearby regions, activities in a bid to encourage intended individuals and groups to lay down their arms and choose to protect peace and social security for the benefit of all, including avoiding the snuffing of the dreams and life of another Farhadin Lutia. Buhay, ekonomiya, at kinabukasan ng ating mga anak at mga po ang nakataya dito. Madam Speaker, alam ko ang hirap at sama ng loob na nararanasan ng mga kababayan natin na naapektuhan ang mga pag-aaral at kabuhayan dahil sa hindi matigil-tigil na sikulo at puot ng paghihiganti at patayan. Alam ko ang hirap ng kawalan ng seguridad, ng kaligtasan at buhay dahil hanggang ngayon ay limitado rin ang mga pinupuntahan kong mga lugar bilang karagdagang pag-iingat. Alam ko ang hindi matawarang pighati at bigat ng damdamin na dinaranas ng pamilya ng mga biktima ng karahasan at mga patayan dahil napagdaanan ko rin ang matinding tukso ng paghihiganti na dala ng galit at pagdadalamhati. Dahil pinagdaanan ko rin ang mga iyon at kung maaari ay ayaw kong maranasan pa iyon ng iba. As we are celebrating the National Arts Month, I am earnestly praying that the notion of art that shall come to the minds of the people in Mindanao, especially those in the Bangsamoro and adjacent regions, will pertain to those of fine or creative arts and skills that are beneficial to mankind. Not the art of assembling homemade bombs and firearms, not the art on how to deliver painful and agonizing death to a person and suffering and despair to the victim's family. Not those that are destructive and detrimental to the welfare and security of other people and society. But art such as Vicente Manansala's mother and child painting that depicts the nurturing care of a mother to a helpless child and what the analogy may teach them on how to become better persons and contributors in strengthening our communities and the nation as a whole. This we may help our children and the young generation achieve by passing interventions to strengthen the Balik Baril program and by pushing for a more aggressive disbanding of private armed groups so that we can help prevent unnecessary deaths and destructions due to the whims of those who wield their guns, goons, and gold to stem dissent or simply as a means toward a selfish end. This we may help the young generation achieve by passing interventions to strengthen the Balik Baril program and by pushing for a more aggressive disbanding of private armed groups so that we can help prevent another man's son from wielding either a high-powered firearm or a rocket-propelled grenade to avenge an injustice that he perceived to have been committed against him and his family. This dream we may assist the younger generations attain by pushing for assertive efforts to recover the loose firearms and for more forceful campaign to disband private armed groups so that our kindergarten pupils will not get struck in the head by stray bullets while inside the classroom, but instead successfully acquire useful knowledge, wisdom, and skills that they can utilize in the future as they strive to positively contribute to the society while building better lives for themselves and their loved ones. We cannot afford to fail the younger generations, Madam Speaker. We cannot fail them. In closing, I wish to point out that while we are celebrating February as the National Month of Arts, this month also happens to cover the first half of the month of our holy month of Ramadan, even though the previous weeks have delivered unto us a sad and frustrating string of violent incidents in Mindanao. It is these representations' most ardent prayer that may the spirit of genuine peace, love, camaraderie, and patriotism truly reign in the heart of everyone. Taga Mindanao man o hindi, mapakristyano o Muslim, mga Pilipino pa rin tayo. Lahat na nag-aasam ng mas mapayapa, maunlad at mataas na kalidad ng buhay para sa lahat. Enough of the coercions and terror being caused by the presence of extremists and private armed groups. Enough of these senseless killings. Enough of these painful wounds and ugly scars. Shukran, Madam Speaker, and may love and respect and peace reign in our hearts.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, seeing as how there are no interpellations, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable Ismael Magundudatu to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
An objection? Hearing none, the privileged speech of the Honorable Ismael Magundudatu is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from the 2nd District of Caloocan, the Honorable Representative Edgar Irise, to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Edgar Irise is hereby recognized for his privileged speech. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, our Majority Leader, dear colleagues. Noong nagsagawa po tayo ng deliberasyon para sa 2026 General Appropriations Act, tinanong ko po ang mga opisyal ng Metro Manila Development Authority at ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources hinggil sa kalagayan ng Rodriguez Landfill sa bayan ng Rizal. Isang pasilidad na mahigit o ilang dekada nang pinagtatapunan ng basura ng Metro Manila at karatig lungsod. Ito po ay nakapagtataka dahil hindi napupuno. Isiniwalat ko noon ang impormasyong kahit ang mga natural na daluyang tubig sa paligid ng dam site ay ginagalaw at inililipat. Napatunayan din na sa pagdinig na naapektuhan at napopollute ang tubig ng Laguna de Bay, samantalang ang nasabing dam site ay napakalapit pa sa water reservoir ng Balara. Isang napakasensitibong pinagkukunan ng tubig ng ating mga mamamayan sa Metro Manila. Tinanong ko rin, bakit sa kabila ng paglipas ng maraming taon, hindi pa rin nakapaglalatag ang MMDA ng konkretong plano upang magtatag ng mga modernong sanitary landfill at waste-to-energy facilities. Bakit tila napag-iwanan na tayo, maging ng mga mas mahihirap na lungsod sa ibang bansa pagdating sa makabagong sistema ng pamamahala ng basura? 10,000 tons of garbage is being produced by Metro Manila, one of the biggest in the world. Noong mga nakaraang araw, nagkaroon ng matinding pagguho sa Rodriguez Dam Site. Ayon sa mga ulat, may humigit kumulang 50 katao ang nabaon. At hanggang ngayon, ay may mga hindi pa natatagpuan. May mga ulat ding may mga residenteng pinipigilang magsalita, tinatakot o pinapangakuan ng kabayaran kapalit ng kanilang pananahimik. Sapagkat kapag umano, ito nabalita at naisara ang dam site, mawawalan sila ng kabuhayan. Sa hirap ng buhay, para bang kapit sa patalim. Kaya tikom ang mga bibig kahit may mga pamilyang nagdadalamati at patuloy na naghahanap sa kanilang mga kamag-anak. Meron ding seryosong usapin ng conflict of interest. Ayon sa aking impormasyon, iisang may-ari ng dam site, ang SWIMS, at ang mga kumpanyang naghahakot ng basura sa maraming lungsod sa Metro Manila. Sila rin ang tumatanggap ng tipping fee mula sa MMDA at bayad mula sa mga lokal na pamahalaan. Bilyong-bilyong piso ang binabayad sa mga local government units at ng MMDA taon-taon. Ang kontrata ay tinatawag na Clean All, kung saan sapat na sertipikasyon ng LGU na nahakot ang tinatayang dami ng basura upang mabayaran ang buong halaga batay sa estimated daily production. Tinatayang nasa 10,000 tonelada kada araw ang basura ng Metro Manila. Ibig sabihin na babayaran ng mga kontraktor batay sa estimasyon lamang, kahit may indikasyon na hindi naman ganap na nakolekta ang lahat ng basura. Sapagkat marami ang napupunta sa mga estero, daluyan tubig at sa huli sa Manila Bay at Laguna de Bay, kaya naman ano nangyayari? Baha dito, baha doon ang Metro Manila. Tayo rin ang pinaka-pollutant na bansa sa buong mundo. 34% ng mga plastic waste sa buong mundo ay nanggagaling sa Pilipinas. May impormasyong lumulutang na maaring may 20 o 30% padding ng volume ng basurang sinisingil at binabayaran ng MMDA. Kung ito ay totoo, napakalaking paglustay ito sa pondo ng bayan. At ito ang dahilan kung bakit walang malinaw na inisyatiba upang humana ng alternatibong employment upang tulungan ang mga pamilyang naapektuhan, magbigay ng agarang ayuda at pansamantalang hanap buhay habang sila'y bumabangon. Hinihiling ko sa NBI na magsagawa ng masusing investigasyon upang tukuyin kung sino ang mga nananakot, nagbabayad at pumipigil sa mga residente na magsalita tungkol sa kanilang mga nawawalang kaanak. At sa huli, hinihiling ko ang pansamantalang pagpapatigil sa operasyon ng nasabing dam site habang isinasagawa ang isang malalim, malaya at transparent na investigasyon. Hindi maaring manaig ang takot at katahimikan sa harap ng ganitong trahedya. Panahon na upang managot ang dapat managot at panahon na upang ituwid ang isang sistemang basura na nga binubulok pa. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader. The is the honorable representative from Kabataan Party List, Gabriela, standing on to interpolate or to deliver another privileged speech?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'd just like to give a short manifestation in reaction to the privileged speech delivered by Representative Erice.
The honorable representative from Gabriela Party List is hereby recognized.
Maraming salamat, Madam Speaker. At sa bahagi po ng representasyon na ito ng Gabriela Women's Party ng mga kababaihan, kami ay sumusuporta sa panawagan ng agarang pag-iimbestiga at pagpapanagot sa pagguho ng landfill sa Rodriguez Rizal na kumitil sa buhay ng isang tao at nagpahamak sa nasa 2 o maaaring higit pa na naulat na nawawala ayon ho sa mga pinakahuling nakarating na balita sa representasyon na ito. Ito ay isang malinaw na malagim na bunga ng pribadisadong sistema ng pamamahala ng basura at ng walang habas na pagpapabaya sa kaligtasan ng mga maralitang manggagawa at ng ating kalikasan. Kailangan din po ng investigasyon ng DENR, ng DOLE, ng DILG at iba pang kaugnay na ahensya na hindi lang tumitingin doon sa teknikal na sanhi ng pagguho mismo, kundi sa buong sistemang nagtutulak ng ganitong mga sakuna. Marami nang nailista kanina ng mga naipasang batas tungkol sa solid waste management, doon sa hangarin natin na zero waste, ngunit malayong-malayo ang kalagayan ngayon, Madam Speaker. At nagdudulot pa ito ng panganib, hindi lang sa kabuhayan, kundi sa buhay ng ating mga mamamayan, pati na rin sa buhay ng ating napakayaman na kalikasan dito sa bansa. Higit sa lahat, Madam Speaker, kailangan ng agaran at komprehensibo na tulong sa mga biktima at pamilyang apektado. Dapat masiguro ang hustisya at pananagutan. At kung meron silang mga ulat, mga katanungan, dapat po ito ay hindi sinasagot ng pangmamaliit. Hindi po ito dapat sinasagot na sinasabi na exaggeration lamang ang kanilang mga ulat. Ang kanilang mga ulat dapat po masusi na imbestigahan, masusi na pakinggan, at aksyonan ang kanilang mga issue kaugnay ng sakunang nangyari na ito. Huwag nating pabayaan na maging numero na lamang ang mga biktima ng ganitong mga sakuna. Maraming salamat, Madam Speaker. At muli, kung mayroong mga resolusyon at magsisimula na rin ho na magtulak ang representasyon na ito upang imbestigahan at magkaroon ng pananagutan sa usapin na ito. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to interpolate, I move to refer the speech of Representative Edgar Eresi and the manifestation of Representative Sarah Jane Ilago to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Any objection? Hearing none, the speech of the Honorable Erice as well as its manifestation is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from the 1st District of Parañaque City, Representative Eric Olivares,
The
to avail
Honorable,
of the privilege hour.
the Honorable Eric Olivares of the 1st District of Parañaque City is hereby recognized to deliver his privileged speech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen of this august chamber, it is both an honor and solemn duty to rise before this body, not merely as a legislator, but as a lifelong educator, since I've been teaching at De La Salle University in the Graduate School of the College of Education for the past 29 years, and I've been managing our family-owned school for the past 30 years, Olivares College, to present and advocate for the passage of a measure that speaks to the heart of our nation's most enduring challenge, the education of our youth. I present before this esteemed body the Tara Basa Act of 2026. This measure seeks to institutionalize the Tara Basa tutoring program as a national three-pronged social protection program that is community-based, intergenerational, and evidence-informed, designed to address the vulnerabilities of Filipino families by focusing on three key partner beneficiaries: the youth beneficiaries, parents or guardians, and children beneficiaries. This program, simple in concept but profound in impact, was originally established as a flagship initiative of the national government under Executive Order Number 76, Series of 2026, issued by His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., and has since proven its relevance as an integrated intervention that not only supports learning recovery, but more importantly, advances youth empowerment and strengthens family resilience. Through this measure, we strengthen a holistic and community-based framework where youth beneficiaries serve as tutors and youth development workers. Parents and guardians are capacitated through parenting sessions, and children beneficiaries receive structured learning support as an enabling and complementary intervention to address foundational literacy gaps. Today, we seek to ensure that this proven program is not temporary or dependent on executive issuance, but is instead anchored in law, supported by stable funding, nationwide reach, and strengthened accountability. Madam Speaker, this measure is anchored firmly on the mandates of our institution, as stated in Article 2, Section 9, Article 2, Section 13, likewise Article 14, Section 2, which directs the state to encourage non-formal and informal learning systems and community-based educational programs that respond to local needs. Complementary to these constitutional directives are the following statutes and commitments: Republic Act Number 8044, the Youth in Nation Building Act; Republic Act Number 10931, Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act; Republic Act Number 7160, the Local Government Code of 1991 on Special Education Fund. The program also supports Sustainable Development Goal, or the SDG numbers 1 and 4, and 8, which respectively aim to end poverty, ensure inclusive and quality education, and promote full and productive employment and decent work for all. Before a problem can be solved, it must first be confronted with honesty and clarity. The World Bank's 2022 Learning Poverty Report reveals that 91% of Filipino children aged 10 cannot read and understand a simple passage. The World Bank and UNESCO Institute for Statistics define learning poverty as the share of 10-year-old children who are unable to read and understand a short age-appropriate text. It reflects both students who are in school but not achieving basic literacy and those who are out of school entirely. This definition reminds us that schooling is not the same as learning. That true education begins when a child learns to read with understanding. Despite our high enrollment rates, the Second Congressional Commission on Education, otherwise known as the EDCOM Report 2, has declared that the Philippines as a superachiever in access but underperformer in learning. It found that Filipino learners lag behind their peers by 5.5 years in learning achievement. The Philippines rank among the lowest in PISA, the Program for International Student Assessment, and the SIA-PLM, the Southeast Asian Primary Learning Metrics. Students are promoted without meeting minimum standards. This is not merely an education issue. It is a human capital crisis that threatens our nation's future competitiveness and equity. Behind every percentage lies a child, a name, a dream, a future deferred, a grade school student unable to read the paragraph, a high schooler who cannot grasp exam questions, a mother misreading medicine labels, an out-of-school youth unable to complete a job application. According to the 2024 Functional Literacy, Education and Mass Media Survey, millions of Filipinos aged 10 to 64 years of age remain not functionally literate. In its official clarification, the Philippine Statistics Authority reported that an estimated 5.58 million high school graduates and junior high school completers are basically literate but not functionally literate, while an additional 6.45 million are not functionally literate at all. These figures underscore that while many Filipinos may be able to read and write at a basic level, a significant number continue to struggle with comprehension and the practical application of literacy skills required in modern life. Yet there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The Tara Basa program, launched through Executive Order number 76, has proven that Filipino spirit of bayanihan can transform learning poverty into learning opportunity. In his speech at the Tara Basa tutoring program, national culminating activity, President Marcos declared, "Hindi maikakaila na ang pagbabasa ay pundasyon ng kaalaman at pag-unlad." Since its pilot implementation in 2023, the program implemented by the Department of Social Welfare and Development, DSWD, in partnership with the Department of Education and the local government units, and other stakeholders as well, has demonstrated its effectiveness as an integrated social protection intervention that empowers youth and strengthens family, contributing to improvements in foundational literacy. The DSWD, in coordination with DepEd, through Memorandum Circular number 13, Series of 2025, refined implementation standards, including tutor-to-learner ratios, capability building, cash for work, and cash for training mechanisms, and monitoring and evaluation systems, strengthening the framework for nationwide expansion. Most importantly, the Tara Basa program has demonstrated that meaningful and lasting outcomes can be achieved through a community-based approach, where youth, parents, and local institutions become partners in social protection and development. Numerous success stories demonstrate that Tara Basa is impactful, inclusive, and scalable. Madam Speaker, this gives permanence to the Tara Basa framework by institutionalizing it into law, ensuring continuity and sustainability beyond executive issuances. It establishes the Tara Basa Tutoring Program as a national three-pronged social protection program that adopts a three-generation targeting approach and provides holistic support system. The three beneficiaries are the following. The youth beneficiaries, college students who belong to poor or low-income families and enrolled in state or local colleges, universities. They serve as the tutors for our children who cannot read. Second, parents or guardians, families who belong to poor or low income with struggling or non-reader elementary students. And lastly, the children beneficiaries, the incoming grade 2 learners who are struggling to read or non-readers from poor or low-income families currently enrolled in public schools. Under this proposed measure, the program shall be implemented by DSWD as the lead implementing agency, in close coordination with the Department of Education as well as the local government units. It provides the program the following: capability building activities for youth beneficiaries, structured tutorial sessions conducted by youth beneficiaries, particularly the tutors, parenting sessions facilitated by youth beneficiaries, particularly youth development workers, direct financial assistance or subsidies such as cash for work, cash for training, meal allowance, and participation incentives. Indirect subsidies included knowledge products, learning kits, and advocacy materials. Strong monitoring, evaluation, reporting mechanisms, including annual report to Congress and the creation of Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. The results of Tara Basa implementation reinforce the growing global evidence that tutoring is among the most effective interventions to accelerate learning recovery. UNESCO likewise recognized that tutoring, when designed and implemented at scale, is one of the fastest and most equitable ways to address learning loss. These findings provide clear and compelling support for this proposed measure. Madam Speaker, this program is designed to produce dual dividends. Children beneficiaries receive structured tutoring sessions to improve literacy and foundation learning. Parents and guardians participate is strengthened through structured parenting sessions. Learning gains are tracked through regular assessments and monitoring, as well as communities are empowered to participate in education as a shared responsibility. Madam Speaker, literacy is not an expense. It is an investment in human capital and national development. World Bank analysis consistently show that quality education and learning gains translate into increased productivity, improved lifetime earnings, and stronger national competitiveness. Reducing learning poverty today means building a future workforce capable of innovation, civic participation, and economic resilience. Across the archipelago, Tara Basas produce inspiring outcomes. Children finishing storybooks for the first time, youth tutors gaining confidence, support through their service, and parents becoming more engaged partners in learning. These stories remind us that development is a shared journey. As one youth tutor shared, "Sir, natulungan ko po yung mga batang magbasa, pero ako rin po ay natulungan din." This exemplify in the video presentation that I would like to present, Madam Speaker.
Nagpapasalamat po talaga ako sa programang ito dahil marami po akong natutunan. Hindi ko talaga magwasan.
Madam Speaker, literacy is more than ability to read words. It is the power to understand, question, and transform the world. It unlocks opportunity and dignity. It strengthens democracy. It breaks cycles of poverty. Through literacy, we liberate not only the minds, but the very soul of our nation. This is why the Tara Basa Act of 2026 is more than a socio-economic education bill. It is a bill of empowerment, youth development, and family resilience. Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we now stand at a defining moment. We are presented with a choice: continue to manage a crisis or act decisively to end it. The Tara Basa Act of 2026 is a nation-building measure. It asks us to institutionalize what already works, to protect the children, to support families, and to engage youth in meaningful service. And for every youth we empower, a future is secured. For every parent we strengthen, a family becomes resilient. And for every child we help learn, a nation moves forward. Let us pass the Tara Basa Act of 2026, and with it, strengthen our youth, uplift our families, and give every Filipino child the opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang kabataang Pilipino. Mabuhay ang pamilyang Pilipino. Mabuhay ang bansang marunong magbasa. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to interpolate, I move to refer the speech of the Honorable from 1st District of Parañaque, Representative Eric Olivares, to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Any objections? Hearing none, the privileged speech of the Honorable Eric Olivares of the 1st District of the City of Parañaque is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, there being no member who wished to avail the privilege hour, I move that we close the privilege hour.
Any objection? Hearing none, the privilege hour is hereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, under the calendar of business for today, I move that we consider House Bill Report number 7674, submitted by the committee, contained in the committee report number 110, submitted by the Committee on Legislative Franchises, copy of which have been distributed to the members, for which purpose may I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Secretary General is hereby directed to read the title of House Bill 7647 as contained in Committee Report 110.
House Bill number 7647, an act further amending sections 1, 16, and 21 of Republic Act number 11212 as amended by Republic Act number 11918, entitled An Act Granting More Electric and Power Corporation a franchise to establish, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes and in the public interest a distribution system for the conveyance of electric power to the end users in the city of Iloilo, province of Iloilo, and ensuring the continuous and uninterrupted supply of electricity in the franchise area.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we open a period of sponsorship and debate.
Any objection? Hearing none, the period of sponsorship, debate, and interpellation is hereby opened, and for this purpose we recognize the Honorable Jeffrey Ferrer of the 4th District of Negros Occidental, Chairman of the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, Madam Speaker, and esteemed colleagues. House Bill number 7647, as contained in Committee Report number 110, seek to amend certain section of Republic Act number 11212 as amended by Republic Act number 11918 to authorize more electric and power corporation to establish, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes in the public interest electric distribution system in its existing franchise area and to expand its operation to the 1st District of the province of Iloilo, comprising the municipalities of Gimbal, Igbaras, Miagao, Toton, San Joaquin, Tigbawan, and Tubungan, all in the province of Iloilo. At present, More Electric serves approximately 105,000 residential and commercial consumers. To propose expansion to the 1st District of Iloilo is projected to bring in an additional 60,000 consumers, thereby significantly broadening in reach of reliable and efficient electric distribution services in the province. The Committee on Legislative Franchises conducted thorough deliberation on the proposed expansion of More Electric and Power Corporation franchise on December 9, 2025. And January 27, 2026, More Electric fully complied with the documentary requirements of the committee, including the Certificate of Compliance from Energy Regulatory Commission, ERC, the Certificate of Good Standing from the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the tax clearance from the BIR. During the December 9 deliberation, representative of the local government units in the 1st District of Iloilo were present, together with the 1st District Representative, the beautiful Congresswoman Janet Garin, and the original author of the bill expresses their full support for the measure. The committee subsequently approved the bill on January 27, 2026. In view of the foregoing, I respectfully, earnestly urge the approval of this measure in response to the pressing need of the consumers in the 1st District of Iloilo for reliable and uninterrupted electricity. Damo gid nga salamat. Maraming salamat and yes.
Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open a period of amendments.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee amendments or individual amendments, I close the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading, House Bill number 7647.
All those in favor of the motion, please say ayes.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 7647 is approved on second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I suspend session until the 24th of February, 3 p.m.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Session is suspended until February 24 at 3 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you, Dave.